O Lord, I would like to ask you something. If you will allow me, if you are really thinking of me as your servant, then please answer my question. I do not understand what Nityananda Avadut is doing in Navadvip. Everyone says that he is a sannyasi, but he chews betel nuts with camphor. A sannyasi is not supposed to touch gold and other such opulences. But Nityananda decorates his entire body with gold, silver, and pearls. Abandoning the kupina and saffron robes. He dresses in gorgeous clothing. He also puts sandalwood paste on his body. Why does he carry an iron rod instead of a sannyas danda? He always mingles with sudras. I do not find his behavior in accordance with the scriptures, and so I have a doubt in my heart about his character. Everyone addresses him as an exalted personality, but he does not follow the rules and regulations of his ashram. O Lord, if you think of me as your servant, then please explain to me the truth. Because the pious Brahmin inquired from the Lord at an auspicious moment, Shri Gaurasundara explained everything to him. Sunya vipra mahadikari ye bhaya tabe tanra doya guna kichu na janmaya. Listen, my dear Brahmin. Faults or defects do not affect an exalted person. Srimad Bhagavatam 11:20-36 states, Namai ekanta bhaktanam guna dosod baba gunha sadhunam samchitanam budhe param upeyusam. Material piety and sin, which arise from the good and evil of this world, cannot exist within my unalloyed devotees, who, being free from material hankering, maintain steady spiritual consciousness in all circumstances. Indeed, such devotees have achieved me, the Supreme Lord, who am beyond anything that can be conceived by material intelligence. Padma patre yena kabu nahi loge jala e mata Nityananda swarupa nirmala pamarta krishna chandra thana sarire nischaya janhiha Bipras Savada Bihari Adhikari Baikare Tahana Amara Duka Payase Jana Papa Janmataya Rudra bine anye yadi kare bishangana sarvata yamare sava purana paramana. Just as water does not touch a lotus leaf, no faults touch Nityananda Swarup. O Brahman, know that Krishna Chandra eternally resides in Nityananda's body. Those disregarding an exalted person will suffer miseries and repeat sinful reactions. The Puranas say that if anyone other than Lord Shiva drinks poison, he will surely die. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:33-29-30 also says, Sri Sukha Uvacha Dharma Vyati Kramo Drista Isvaranam Cha Sahasam Tejiya Samnadosaya Vane Savabujo Yata. Sukadeva Goswami said, the status of powerful controllers is not harmed by any apparently audacious transgression of mortality we may see in them. For they are just like fire, which devours everything fed into it and remains unpolluted. Naitat samachare jato manasapihi anisvara vinashati acharan mujat yatarudro vidi jamvisham. One who is not a great controller should never imitate the behavior of ruling personalities, even mentally. If out of foolishness an ordinary person does imitate such behavior, he will simply destroy himself, just as a person who is not Rudra would destroy himself if he tried to drink an ocean of poison. Eteke na janiya nindatana karma nija doshe se dukkha paya janma janma gahito karaye yadi mahadikari nindayaki dayatanre hasile mari bhagavata haite se savatatva janni taho jadi vaishnava gurura murke suni. Those criticizing an exalted person without knowing his glories suffer miseries life after life from this fault. Even if an exalted person does something improper, what to speak of criticizing him? If one even laughs at him, he is doomed. Srimad Bhagavatam describes all these truths. One can also hear this from the mouth of a bona fide spiritual master. Listen attentively to the results of laughing at the behavior of an exalted person that are described in Srimad Bhagavatam. Once, Krishna and Balarama went to the ashram of Sandipani Muni to study. After completing their studies, they wanted to go home. They asked their teacher, "What dakshina should we give?" After consulting his wife, the teacher asked Krishna and Balarama to bring back his dead son. Krishna and Balarama started at once for the abode of Yamaraj. After destroying all the child's karma, they brought the boy back to their teacher from the abode of Yamaraj. When Devaki heard of this most wonderful incident, she too asked Krishna to bring back her dead sons. One day, Devaki addressed both Krishna and Balarama pathetically. "Listen, Krishna and Balarama, you are the lords of all mystic perfections. You are both the eternal personalities of Godhead. Both of you are the fathers of the entire universe. I know that both of you are the cause of all the causes, creation maintenance, and annihilation are carried out by the portion of your plenary portion. Yet to diminish the burden of the earth you have descended as my sons. You brought back the dead son of your teacher from the abode of Yamaraj as Dakshina. I too have a great desire to see my 6 sons who were killed by Kamsa. Though the son of your teacher died long ago, you brought him back by your extraordinary potency. So both of you, please fulfill my desire and bringing back my 6 sons. After hearing Mother Devaki's request, Krishna and Balarama left at once for the abode of Bali Maharaja. When Bali Maharaj saw his own worshipable Lord, he was merged in the ocean of transcendental bliss. He promptly surrendered everything, including his house, children, body, wealth, and friends, to the lotus feet of Krishna. In ecstasy, his hair stood on end, tears of love flowed from his eyes, and he shivered in bliss. He caught hold of Krishna's lotus feet and began to offer prayers. All glories to Krishna Chandra, the ornament of Gokula. All glories to Shankarshan, who is non-different from Ananta. All glories to Haladara, the leader of the cowherd boys. All glories to the merciful devotees of Krishna, who fulfill all one's desires. Although the demigods and sages are situated in pure goodness, still your darshan is rare for them. O Lord, you are so merciful that you manifest yourself even before the demons, who are generally in ignorance. You do not discriminate between friends and enemies. The Vedas confirm it, and I can directly see it. Putana came to kill you by smearing her breast with poison. Still, you sent her to Vaikuntha. Neither the Vedas, nor the scriptures, nor the great mystic yogis can understand your heart. If the great mystic yogis are unable to know your glories, then how can I, a sinful demon, know you? O Lord of the universe, please be merciful to me, so that I may not fall down in the dark well of family life. I wish to hold your lotus feet within my heart and live peacefully beneath a tree. O Lord, please make me a servant of your servant. I have no other desire. Holding the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram within his heart, Bali Maharaj offered prayers. He and his family members drank and touched their heads with the water that washed the lotus feet of the Lord and felt immensely fortunate. Such water purifies the abodes of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, just as the Ganges purifies the entire 3 worlds. He also offered worship with sandalwood paste, flowers, ghee lamp, incense, cloth, and ornaments. Finally, he offered his respectful obeisances and continued, O Lord, please instruct me if you really think me to be your servant. Anyone who follows your instructions reaches beyond the jurisdiction of rules and regulations. Lord Krishna, exceedingly pleased with Bali, began to explain the reason for his visit. Listen, Bali Maharaj, the Lord addressed him. The sinful Kamsa killed my mother's 6 sons. Thus he also finally died. Remembering her sons, Mother Devaki continually cries in lamentation. Those 6 sons are with you, and I want to take them back for the pleasure of my mother. Those 6 sons are actually perfected demigods, grandsons of Lord Brahma. Let me explain to you why they had to undergo such tribulations. These 6 sons were previously the sons of Prajapati Maharishi, a son of Brahma. Once Lord Brahma was bewildered by lusty desires and shamelessly chased his own daughter. Seeing the behavior of Brahma, the 6 sons of Maharishi laughed at him. Because of this fault, they at once fell from their positions. Since they ridiculed the activities of an exalted person, they were forced to take birth among demons. Leaving their demigod bodies, they took birth in the family of Hiranyakashipu, who terrorized the entire universe. They suffered various miseries and were ultimately killed by the thunderbolt of Indra. By the arrangement of Yogamaya, these 6 sons of Maharishi took birth from the womb of Devaki. Simply by laughing at Brahma's misbehavior, they incurred so many sinful reactions. They thus had to undergo these punishments. From their birth, they suffered unlimited distress. Though they were nephews of Kamsa, he killed them all. Devaki is unaware of these mysteries. She simply cries, considering them as her own sons. I wish to return those 6 sons to my mother. That is why I have come here to you. Drinking milk from Devaki's breasts will release these 6 from Brahma's curse. Lord Krishna continued, O Bali, consider the consequences of ridiculing a Vaishnava. If perfect personalities like these receive so much misery, what will be the fate of an ordinary man? A sinner who criticizes a Vaishnava suffers misery birth after birth. Take this lesson to your heart. Never blaspheme or laugh at a Vaishnava. If one worships me and chants my holy names, but blasphemes devotees, he will be vanquished. Those who show love and respect to my devotees will surely obtain my favor. There is no doubt about this. The Varaha Purana states, Siddhir bhavati vaneti samsayo yujyata sevinam nishamashyastata tadva garicharyaya ratata atmanam. One may doubt whether the servant of the Supreme Lord will attain perfection, but there is absolutely no doubt that those who are attached to serving his devotees will attain perfection. In Sri Hari Bhakti Sudhodaya, it says, Archaitva tu govindam tadiyana chaya mane nate vishnu prasadasya bhajanam danvika jana. If one does not worship my devotees, but only worships me, then he is simply a proud person and not a recipient of my mercy. O Bali, I explained this confidential music to you, or this confidential topic to you, because you are my eternal and dear servant. Bali Maharaja was very pleased to hear the teachings of Lord Krishna. Obeying the Lord's order, he at once brought the 6 sons and offered them to the Lord. Krishna and Balaram took these 6 sons and returned them to Mother Devaki. When Devaki saw her sons out of affection, she happily fed them breast milk. Drinking the remnants of Lord Krishna as Devaki's breast milk, they were filled with transcendental knowledge. They promptly offered obeisances to the Lord, falling flat on the ground. Everyone witnessed this. Lord Krishna, glancing mercifully on them, began to compassionately instruct them. O demigods, now you may go home. never blaspheme an exalted person again. Lord Brahma is the energy of the Supreme Lord. Even if he acts wrongly, one should not blaspheme him. You have suffered so much by ridiculing him. Now give up such a mentality. Go to Lord Brahma and beg his pardon. You will then regain your happiness. The 6 demigods offered obeisances to their mother and father, Devaki and Vasudeva. Then after offering their obeisances to Krishna and Balarama, they returned to their heavenly abode. Lord Chaitanya continued, O Brahmana, I have explained the topics of Srimad Bhagavatam to you. Do not maintain the slightest doubt about Nityananda Swarup. He is the most exalted personality. Unfortunate people are unable to understand him. Accept his uncommon activities, and then you will surely be delivered. He incarnated simply to deliver the fallen souls, and so he will liberate all living beings. His dealings are above all Vedic rules and regulations. Who has the power to understand him? Anyone who blasphemes Nityananda without knowing his unfathomable qualities, even if that person has achieved Vishnu Bhakti, is doomed. O Brahmana, go to Navadvip and explain this truth to everyone. If anyone blasphemes Nityananda Prabhu in any way, no one will be able to protect that person from Jamaraja's punishment. One who loves him actually loves me. I am telling you the truth. Even if Nityananda marries a Muslim girl and enters a wine shop, he is still worshipable by Lord Brahma. This is my verdict. The Lord's words made the pious Brahmana very happy. The immense faith in the lotus feet of Nityananda and returned to Navadvip. Arriving at Navadvip, the fortunate Brahmana first went to Nityananda Prabhu's house. He begged Nityananda's forgiveness for his offenses, and Nityananda fully bestowed his mercy upon him. Such are the dealings of Nityananda Swarup. They are unknown to the Vedas and incomprehensible to ordinary men. From the spiritual point of view, Nityananda Prabhu is the master of mystic yoga. He is also known as Adi Deva, Dharanidhara, the original personality who holds the universes on his hoods. He has thousands of heads, and his body is eternal and pure. Without the mercy of Sri Chaitanya, no one can know him. Some said he is Balarama, while others said he is the dearmost associate of Sri Chaitanya. Other persons said he is the most effulgent plenary portion of the personality of Godhead. Still others declared, we do not understand. If one calls Nityananda a living entity, a devotee, or a learned scholar, it does not matter. Nityananda Prabhu may be anyone to Sri Chaitanya, but still I keep his lotus feet within my heart. He is my Lord, and I am his servant, birth after birth. I pray to everyone to bless me to always remember this way. Shri Gaurasundara is the Lord of my Lord. I always keep this faith within my heart. Will that day ever come when I will see Chaitanya and Nityananda, surrounded by their devotees? All glories to Mahaprabhu Gaur Chandra. You kindly gave me the association of Nityananda and then took him away from me. Still, O Gaur Hari, favor me so that I will never forget you and Nityananda Prabhu. Wherever you both appear, let me also appear as your eternal servant. Accepting Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavan Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. Nityananda Charitamrita, Shrila, Chapter 13, Birth of Virachandra Prabhu and Disappearance of Lord Nityananda. Lord Nityananda enjoyed unlimited and inconceivable pastimes at Ambika Kalna. In spite of manifesting so many pastimes, no one could recognize him, as fish are unable to see the moon reflected on the surface of the ocean. Once, Lord Nityananda thought, I will build an ashram at Kadadaha to follow the orders of my Lord. I will open up a marketplace for distributing the holy names of the Lord. After contemplating in this way, Nityananda Prabhu went to Kadadaha to manifest his pastimes. He followed the principles of household life and manifested the service of the deity Sri Syamasundar. Sri Janava and Sri Vasuda constantly worshipped the lotus feet of Nityananda. The Lord empowered them with his energies. He enjoyed various pastimes with both consorts, fulfilling their heart's desires. The happiness of Janava and Vasuda knew no bounds, for they had Nityananda Prabhu as their husband. Both had prayed to the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya that Lord Nityananda would be their husband, birth after birth. On an auspicious day, at an auspicious time, and during a most auspicious conjunction of the stars, the fortunate Vasuda bore a son who was as bright as the moon. The people of the three worlds floated in an ocean of bliss, chanting the holy names of Lord Hari. The multitudes in heaven and on earth glorified Vasuda for having such a beautiful child. He was born on the 4th day in the bright fortnight of the moon in the month of January. Vasuda gave birth to this child after keeping him in her womb for 15 months. It was Lord Gaurachandra who manifested as Sri Virachandra Prabhu. Those who never saw Gaurachandra were able to see him in the form of Virachandra. This most enchanted child enjoyed numerous childhood pastimes as he grew up. One day, while Lord Nityananda was sitting in the courtyard, Abhiram arrived. He called out loudly, "Oh, dear brother Balaram," and entered the courtyard and began to laugh. Lord Nityananda rushed to embrace him. "Abhirama," sweetly said to Nityananda, "I hear that you have a son. Let me see him. I want to offer him obeisances." "You know everything," Nityananda said. "I do not know who has come as my son." Nityananda Prabhu and Abhiram mostly communicated with each other by gestures and postures. Out of love and affection they embraced one another and cried. When Vasuda heard that Abhiram had come, she thought, "I do not know what plan Krishna has. I have heard lately that any deity Abhiram offers obeisances to immediately cracks." The child Virachandra was lying on a wooden cot, holding a colorful piece of cloth in his chest. His eyes half closed so that it appeared as if lotus petals were trapping bumblebees in the evening. The mark of black ointment on his eyes extended to his ears. His forehead was marked with a dot of cow dung. His curly hair was tied in a topknot. Whoever saw him wanted to keep him within his heart. Abhiram came and looked at the child without blinking his eyes. He felt as if his eyes were being smeared with an ointment of nectar. The sight of the child calmed the entire body. The child lying on his cot appeared like the morning sun arisen within the room. He had a raised nose and a beautiful forehead. His arms were long and his chest was broad. His 2 lotus feet bore the signs of an exalted personality and defeated the beauty of the full moon. Upon seeing the child, Abhiram became very happy. He went near his feet and offered obeisances 3 times. The Lord, in the form of a sleeping child, then woke up from his yoga nidra and began to smile. He began licking his feet just like an ordinary child. Abhirama repeatedly offered his obeisances and then circumambulated the child. With great joy he began to chant the holy names of Lord Hari. He played his flute and horn before the child and then came out from the room. Nityananda Prabhu respectfully offered Abhiram a place to sit. Abhiram was decorated with a peacock feather and gunja bead garland. He wore earrings shaped like fish and thin bangles on his wrists. He had a waistband with bells and anklets on his feet with bells. His complexion was the color of a ketaki flower, and he was strongly built. He was the eternally perfect cowherd boy Sridama, the son of King Vrishabhanu, having now appeared as Abhirama. He stayed at the house of the Lord for 1 night, and then joyfully departed for other places. Veerbhadra Prabhu would often reveal himself during his childhood pastimes, and thus he gave immense pleasure to Lord Nityananda. Advaita Acharya came from Shantipur, and after seeing the child, carefully concluded, "A child born in the house of a thief will naturally be a thief. But how to catch this thief?" Advaita Acharya was naturally expert in speaking riddles. Only one he favors can understand his words. After circling the child, Advaita Prabhu returned to Shantipur. All the Vaishnavas visited the child and then returned home. Veerachandra Prabhu continually enjoyed his attractive childhood pastimes. How can I describe the sweetness of Veerachandra's beauty? Whoever saw him continued staring at him. He wore anklets on his feet and a tiger's claw tied to a chain around his neck. What a wonderful combination of beauty and transcendental mellows the Creator made. There is no difference between the pastimes of Veerachandra and Gaurachandra. Sri Chaitanya Gosai is the fountainhead of all incarnations. His brother Nityananda Prabhu is but another body of Sri Chaitanya. Lord Nityananda constantly lamented in separation from Sri Chaitanya. Very seldom did he regain his external awareness, and that too he used only for discussing topics of Chaitanya. He constantly meditated on Lord Chaitanya with his body, mind, and speech. He always sang loudly the glories of Chaitanya. He remained in Gadada, and sometimes he saw the deity of Lord Shyamasundar as Gauranga. Who can understand the glories of Nityananda Prabhu? One day Nityananda Prabhu entered his temple room and disappeared. After some time he reappeared and came out of the deity room. He then took Vasudha and Janava and left Kadadha. From there he went to Ekachakra, where he saw Lord Bankaraya After staying at Ekachakra for a few days, the Lord entered the temple of Bankaraya and merged within the deity. All the Vaishnavas became overwhelmed by separation from the Lord. Somehow or other, their lives did not depart due to the presence of Virachandra. Virachandra Prabhu became very restless in separation from the Lord. He would sit alone contemplating, "Now, what will I do? Where will I go? I am completely confused." The Lord disappeared, leaving me alone. The Lord, the Master of the fallen souls, has left us drowning in an ocean of separation. All the devotees cried in lamentation and repeatedly fell unconscious. They constantly chanted the holy names of Lord Hari. What is the use of our wealth, followers, and life? Lord Nityananda has left us, they lamented. They held their heads and forcefully slapped their chests, crying, "O Lord Hari, O Lord Nityananda, you have left us." The devotees cried and rolled into dust. Hearing the news of the Lord's disappearance, all the people of Nadia came to Ekachakra. They became terribly distressed, being unable to see Lord Nityananda anymore. They also held their heads and cried. All the local devotees cried continuously. Everyone, including children, the elderly, women, and men, cried in separation. However, the atheists laughed, thinking, "We will no longer have to see this Nityananda." Lord Nityananda is the deliverer of the fallen souls. Never serve anyone other than him. Only a most foolish person unaware of the glories of Nityananda takes shelter of others. I consider such a person to be the most sinful person in the world. Jaya Nityananda Chaitanya Priyatma Tri Jagate Arakeha Nahi Toma Sama Ananda Kanda Mahaprabhu Prema Bhakti Data ye se baye se bhakti payeta sarvataha sarva jivera Prabhu karila prasada kesimila sakala maha parada Shri Krishna Chaitanya Deva Nityananda Nama Priti Virabhagya Avatari Anupama. All glories to Lord Nityananda, the dearest associate of Sri Chaitanya. No one is equal to you within the three worlds. You are the reservoir of transcendental bliss who bestows prema bhakti for Mahaprabhu. Those who serve you achieve pure devotional service. O Lord, you delivered all the fallen souls, forgiving their grave offenses. Shri Krishna Chaitanya and Shri Nityananda are the two matchless lords who appeared for the good fortune of this world. Araki kahiva kata bhagye avadi Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Mahaguna Nidhi Abhimana Duranta Tatina Pai Krishnarati Ihajani Nityananda Karabhakati Yahara Prasade Pamara Paila Nistara Hena Prabhu Namahaya Hauka Galara. Who can describe the good fortune of the people of this world? Sri Chaitanya and Shri Nityananda, the oceans of transcendental qualities, have descended to this world. False ego makes people devoid of attachment to Sri Krishna. Knowing this, worship Lord Nityananda. False ego makes people devoid of attachment to Sri Krishna. Knowing this, worship Lord Nityananda. May the holy names of these lords, whose mercy delivered all the fallen souls, be garland around your neck. Jaya Jaya Nityananda, Prema Maya Dhamma, Swabhave Parama Sudha Nityananda Nama, Jagata Tarana Hetu Janravatara, Ye Janana Bhaje Se Papera Akara. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Eka Deha Ihate Nishchaya Karikara Eka Leha Parananda Maya Duhung Murati Rasala Nitai Chaitanya Prabhu Sri Ram Gopala Ihate karye bina ati buddhina arana dekiye tara Vishnu bhakti china. All glories to Lord Nityananda, the abode of love of God. The holy name of Nityananda is naturally supremely pure. To save the entire universe, he descended to this world. Those not worshipping him are surely piles of sin. Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Nityananda are one. Firmly believe this and take shelter of them. Both lords are full of transcendental bliss and devotional mellows. Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya are Lord Balarama and Lord Krishna. Those who reject this are certainly wretched fools. There is no hope for such fools to achieve devotional service to Krishna. Jaya Jaya Sachisuta Ananda Bihara Patita Pavana Nama Bidita Yanhara Nija Lama Diya Jiva Nistara Karila Dena Daya Maya Prabhu Bhajite Narila Kaya Bhakyamane Mora Prabhu Rasarana Mora Sava Patita Nahika Tribhuvana. All glories to Sachi Sutta, the enjoyer of transcendental pastimes. His name is well known as Patita Pavana, Savior of the fallen. The Lord delivered all beings, giving his own holy names. Unfortunate as I am, I did not worship such a merciful Lord. Now I take shelter of my Lord with body, mind, and speech. No one is more fallen than I in all the three worlds. Jaya Jaya Guru Chandra Bhuvana Sundara Prakasha Padamora Ritaya Bitara Yata Yata Bihara Karila Gauda Deshe Sakala Prakasha Mora Hauka Vise. All glories to Gaurachandra, the most enchanting personality in the world. O Lord, please reveal your lotus feet within my heart. Let all your pastimes in Bengal manifest within my heart. Jaya Jaya Lakshmi Kanta Tribhuvana Nata Charane Sarana Murahoka Ekantara Avatare Kahi Nana Vida Dharma Kevala Kahila Ebe Prema Bhakti Marma Hihate Yaharamati Nahila Ananda Ahare Janiha Papista Mahanda. All glories to the husband of the goddess of fortune, the Lord of the three worlds. Let me take shelter of your lotus feet without deviation. In other words, in other incarnations, you have various religious principles, but now you only prescribe loving devotional service. Anyone who is unhappy about this must be blinded by sinful reactions. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of all the Vaishnavas, so that they may overlook my offenses. Anyone who wants to cross beyond the ocean of material existence and merge into the ocean of devotional service must worship the lotus feet of Nitai Chandra. Shri Gaurachandra is the Lord of my Lord Nitai. I always keep this firm conviction in my heart. Someone says Lord Nityananda is Lord Balaram, and someone says he is the dearest associate of Lord Chaitanya. Some say he is the most influential personality, yet others are unable to know who he is. Whether Nityananda is a renunciate or a learned devotee, let them say whatever they want. Let Lord Nityananda be anyone to Lord Chaitanya, still I keep his lotus feet within my heart. All glories to Lord Nityananda, the life and soul of Sri Chaitanya. Please allow me to take shelter of your lotus feet. O Lord, let me sing the glories of Sri Gauranga, following in your footsteps. Let me also remain your eternal servant, birth after birth. My only wish is to have the darshan of Lord Chaitanya. Anyone who reads or hears about your pastimes will receive the treasure of krishna-prema. They say that your devotees are fully dependent upon you, and that you are the supremely independent Lord. There is no end to your pastimes. The Vedas describe them as being manifest and unmanifest. Accepting Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavana Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. Thus ends the Nityananda Charitamrita. Nityananda Charitamrita, Lila, Chapter 11. Lord Chaitanya instructs Nityananda Prabhu to marry. One day at Nilachala, Gaurachandra Mahaprabhu discussed something alone with Nityananda. Tumiyo Gaudadeshe Karaha Samsara Tabe Savalokera Haibe Nistara Punaha Aisiva Amitomara Mandire Tomara Grihe Habe Amara Avatare Bhakti Bilaya Punariva Samsara Gupu Avatara Sastre Nahita Prachara Achinja Amara Shakti Keha Nahi Jane se janaye tumi janaha sahane puri purvayadu bistara nakarila dvapari ebitomara Basabridhi Haibe Samsare. Dear Sri Pada, return to Bengal and get married. Then all the people will be delivered. I will again manifest in your family and stay in your home. I will distribute Krishna Bhakti and deliver the entire world. These incarnations of mine are secret and hidden in the scriptures. No one knows the extent of my inconceivable energies. Only you know them perfectly, and others know them partially by your mercy. In Dwapara Yuga, you did not expand your family as a member of the Yadu dynasty. But this time, your family will increase in this world. Nityananda Prabhu replied, You are the original cause of everything. You are the operator, and I am the machine. You can do with me as you please. No one can direct his intelligence independently. You are my personal protector, benefactor, and maintainer. Whatever I do is dependent upon your will. You made me a mendicant who traveled all over the country, yet you put a curtain over my eyes and remained hidden from me. After a time you gave me darshan and satisfied me by keeping me with you. You made me dance happily in your ecstatic love. You awarded me bhakti and made me a Vaishnava. Again, you made me a materialist by changing my duties. I am unable to understand what is happening to me. Now you tell me to enter family life, although you abandoned such an existence. You gave up all attachment to women and simply became attached to the chanting of Lord Krishna's holy name. You have given up all kinds of enjoyment and taken up the profession of a beggar. O Gosai, why do you trouble me like this? Actually, I have no one other than you. I am your eternal servant, and so I am unable to deny your order. I always follow your order as my very life and soul. After saying this much, Nityananda Prabhu fell silent. The Lord then caught hold of his hands and said, O Nityananda, you are the form of eternal bliss and the abode of my happiness and prosperity. You are my energy, and I am the energetic. Without energy, the existence of the energetic is useless. You and I are not separate at any time. To fulfill our mission, we have descended in this age of Kali. Just as a grain of dal has two parts, so you and I are not separate. We are one. My happiness lies in you alone. Sometimes I experience transcendental happiness directly by your presence, and sometimes through inspiration. Whatever I speak and do, and wherever I travel, is all due to your desire. All my servants are your servants. Nityananda replied, your words are full of deceit, because it is your nature to speak in many different ways. Previously, you sent a message to the gopis through Uddhava, in which you taught them the importance of cultivating spiritual knowledge. They had given up everything, and still they could not attain your association. It is your eternal habit to harass your own people. You even disappointed your mother, father, sons, and friends. So what can be said about us? We are your menial servants. I am destined to follow your orders without fail. Who can deny your infallible commands? O Lord, please tell me in truth, when will I see you again? How will I tolerate the agony of your separation? You do not need to come here every year, the Lord replied. Whenever you wish to see me, you will see me. Whenever you dance in kirtan, or whenever my mother cooks for me, I will come there without a doubt. I am going to spend my days and nights absorbed in the mood of Radharani. After relishing the mood of separation from Krishna, I will wind up these pastimes and return home. The Lord's intimate devotees who realize these secret talks between Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu have disclosed them. This present incarnation of mine is not known to the Vedas. I am revealing my mind only to you. I am telling you the truth, that I will certainly appear in your house in the near future. After hearing these words of Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda Prabhu fell to the ground. Taking advantage of the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, took the dust from his feet. Both the lords embraced and continuously cried. They stayed awake the entire night. Early the next morning, both lords finished their morning duties and then went to see Lord Jagannath in the temple. From that day onwards, the condition of Lord Chaitanya became most pathetic. He constantly lamented, being afflicted with feelings of separation from Krishna. Nobody could understand this most confidential mood of the Lord. Only the Lord comprehended his own mentality. However, some intimate devotees understood the Lord's mood by various hints. Others knew nothing. On the plea of going on pilgrimage, all the devotees bid farewell to the Lord, one by one. Nityananda Prabhu also bade farewell to the Lord and started for Bengal with some devotees. He traveled along the road, absorbed in ecstatic krishna-prema. He appeared as if intoxicated from drinking honey. After some time he arrived on the bank of the Ganges and entered Raghava Pandit's house in the village of Panihati. Hearing about Nityananda Prabhu's arrival, everyone, including children and the elderly, happily rushed to see him. People from Panihati and Triveni poured in non-stop to join in the kirtan. Many people took prasad there, and many people carried it to their houses. Nobody could estimate how many people brought ingredients and how many people distributed prasad. During the day they distributed prasad, and at night they arranged huge Namasankirtan parties. Even Lord Nityananda was unable to count the visitors. Many devotee singers sang and danced while others fanned them with peacock feather fans. Nityananda Prabhu decorated his head with a turban made of colorful cloths. He wore beautiful earrings, and his brightly shining face defeated the beauty of the moon. He had bracelets on his hands and rings on his fingers. He wore a golden chain with a blue sapphire locket. His lotus feet were decorated with golden ankle bells whose tinkling sound banished one's miseries. Tears of love flowed constantly from his lotus eyes. Honeybees poured their honey on his lotus feet. His head resembled that of a lion, and his shoulders those of an elephant. He had a huge body whose 2 arms reached to his knees. His large hands resembled those of a wrestler. His golden limbs exude prema. He was attached to chanting the holy names of Sri Chaitanya Chandra. Nityananda Prabhu swung back and forth while chanting Krishna, Krishna, just like an elephant in rut when struck by a goad. Sometimes he laughed while rolling his eyes and speaking very sweetly. At other times he closed his eyes and remained silent. He sometimes cried loudly, saying, "Oh, my dear Krishna! Oh, my dear Krishna!" Sometimes folding his hands, he chanted, "Oh, my Lord!" And sometimes he covered his face with his cloth while softly uttering, "Oh, Lord of my life," and then fell to the ground with great force. Sometimes he laughed loudly, calling, "Oh, my brother, my dear brother, oh, my dear brother." Sometimes he asked the Lord Brahma for wings to fly in the sky. Nityananda Prabhu's manifestation of prema was thus full of mysteries to the common people. Accepting Sri Chaitanya Nityananda as my life and soul, I, Vrindavana Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. Nityananda Charitamrita, Anchalila, Chapter 7. Lord Nityananda delivers the thieves of the house of Hiranya Pandit. Nityananda Prabhu wanted to see Lord Chaitanya's mother Sachi. He left for Navadvip on an auspicious day, along with his dear associates. Arriving at Navadvip, he went to the house of Mother Sachi and offered her his respectful obeisances. Seeing Nityananda's Sarup, Mother Sachi became unlimitedly happy. "My dear son, you are indeed the Super Soul," she said. "Just now I wanted to see you. Knowing my heart, you came here at once. Who in this world can recognize you? My dear Nityananda, please stay at Navadvip for some time so that I can see you once a month, once a fortnight, or once a week. I was distressed and wanted to see you. By providence, you have now come to relieve my distress." Hearing the words of Mother Sachi, Nityananda Prabhu began to smile, for he knew perfectly well her glories. Listen, Mother of the universe. I came here just to see you, Nityananda said. I want to reside here so that I can see you more often. By your order, I will remain at Navadvip. After conversing with Mother Sachi, Nityananda Prabhu began happily wandering throughout Navadvip. Accompanied by his associates, Nityananda Prabhu performed kirtan in every house of Navadvip. He became the personification of ecstatic chanting of the holy names of the Lord. He visited every house, performing Samkirtan with his devotees. The pious people of Navadvip received unlimited happiness by seeing the supremely enchanting Samkirtan dress of Nityananda. He expertly decorated his head with fine cloths adorned with beautiful flowers. He wore many necklaces of jewels and pearls and decorated his ears with beautiful gold and pearl earrings. He wore bangles and bracelets on his arms. I am unable to describe how many lovely flower garlands decorated his body. He smeared his entire body with sandalwood paste. He enjoyed his pastimes like Bala Gopal. How wonderful was the stick Nityananda held in his hand. His 10 fingers were decorated with 10 golden rings. He dressed very wonderfully with fine cloths of different colors, including white, blue, and yellow. A stick and a flute adorned his waist. His enchanting beauty captivated the minds of everyone. He enchanted the beauty of his 2 lotus feet with silver ankle bells that made beautiful sweet sounds as he walked like an intoxicated elephant. Wherever Lord Nityananda glanced, krishna-prema appeared. Nityananda happily resided at Navadvip, the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya, which is non-different from Mathura. I am unable to estimate how many types of people resided there. There were many holy devotees of the Lord residing at Navadvip. Seeing them freed from a sinner from all seeing them freed a sinner from all sinful reactions. Many miscreants also lived in Navadvip. Touching their shadows just once destroyed one's piety. Even those miscreants became attached to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna by Nityananda Prabhu's causeless mercy. Lord Chaitanya delivered many fallen souls, and through Nityananda he liberated the 3 worlds. Lord Nityananda saved everyone, including thieves, plunderers, and all other wretched and fallen souls. O brothers, listen to Nityananda Prabhu's salvation of thieves and plunderers. A young Brahmana, a dreaded thief and plunderer, resided at Navadvip. No one was equal to or greater than him in terms of plundering. Indeed, he was the commander-in-chief of all the thieves and plunderers in that locality. He was a Brahmin in name only. Actually, he was a most evil-minded person. He had not a tinge of mercy in his body. He did not hesitate to kill others, and he associated with similarly minded men. When this rogue saw the beautiful ornaments and valuable necklaces worn by Nityananda Swarup, he decided to steal them. In the guise of a friend, he wandered with Nityananda Prabhu, just so that he could take his ornaments. Nityananda Prabhu understood that the so-called Brahmin was actually a mischievous and cunning dacoit. There was a pious Brahmin named Hiranya Pandit, who lived in Navadvip. He was a most humble devotee of Lord Shri Nityananda Prabhu. Lord Nityananda Prabhu stayed at the house of this fortunate soul because his house was in a secluded place. It was during this period that the evil-minded Brahmin made plans along with his friends. Brothers, Why should we continue to suffer? He addressed his friends. Goddess Kandi has blessed us with a treasure. All the jewelry this mendicant wears is made of gold, pearls, diamonds, and other precious gems. I cannot estimate how many millions of rupees these ornaments are worth. Goddess Chandi has kindly given us a wonderful opportunity. He lives in the house of Hiranya Pandit, which is in a very lonely place. We can snatch all these ornaments within an hour. Prepare yourselves with swords and shields so that tonight we will invade Hiranya Pandit's house and plunder it. Having made this plan, all the thieves left for home. That night they gathered at the designated spot. They had swords, knives, and tridents, and they surrounded the house where Nityananda Pandit was staying. They had sent a spy ahead to observe the situation in the house. The spy saw Nityananda Prabhu taking his meal, surrounded by devotees that were chanting the holy names of the Lord. These servants of Nityananda Prabhu were intoxicated with krishna-prema. Some roared like lions and others shouted wildly. Some wept in ecstasy while others clapped their hands, laughing loudly. Some made noises like, "Hi, hi!" They were all absorbed in the mellows of ecstatic love. The spy returned and informed the others that Avaduta was eating and the others were awake. The thieves decided, "Let him eat and go to bed. Then we will invade the house. For now we will simply wait and watch." The thieves sat beneath a tree, waiting for the right time to plunder Nityananda's wealth. One of the thieves said, I'll take the golden bangles. Another said, "I'll take the pearl necklace." Someone said, "The golden earrings are mine." Yet another said, "I'll take the golden necklace." Another thief said, "I'll take the silver ankle bells." In this way the thieves were living in the abode of imagination. That night, by the will of Nityananda Prabhu, Nidra Devi, the deity of sleep, captured all the thieves. They fell asleep right where they patiently waited, being bewildered by the Lord's illusory energy. The night passed, and yet they did not awaken. At dawn, when the crows began to caw, the thieves finally woke up. When they found that it was morning, they became very sad. They hurriedly hid their weapons in the forest and went to bathe in the Ganges. Finally, they returned to their homes and began to accuse each other. One of the thieves said to another, "It was you who first fell asleep." Another one replied, "Oh, you are talking like you were awake all night, keeping track of who was asleep and who was awake?" Then another thief said, "Stop this fighting. Goddess Chandi kindly saved us from disgrace." Finally, the sinful Brahmana, the leader of the thieves, said, "There's no use in fighting. By the mercy of Goddess Chandi, whatever happened has happened. This does not mean that every day we will fail. I think Goddess Chandi baffled us last night because we went to rob without first worshipping her. Therefore, let us go and worship Goddess Chandi very nicely. We should offer her the best meat and wine." After discussing in this way, the thieves worshipped Goddess Chandi with offerings of meat and wine. The next day, the thieves armed themselves again with various weapons. They wore dark blue garments, like a band of warriors. In the dead of night, when all were sleeping, the thieves surrounded the Lord's house. Then from a distance the thieves saw that many huge guards surrounded the Lord's house. They were armed with fierce weapons and were loudly chanting the holy names of Lord Hari. They were very strongly built and decorated with garlands and sandalwood paste. The thieves understood that only one guard could kill hundreds of thieves like them without strain. Lord Nityananda slept peacefully within the house, while these guards chanted the holy name of Krishna on all sides. The thieves were astonished. They gave up the idea of invading the house and retreated a short distance to decide upon what should be done. One thief said, "Where did these guards come from?" Another said, "I guess that somehow or other Nityananda Avadhuta came to know of our plans, and so he hired these guards." Brothers, I have often heard people say that this Avadhuta is a very learned scholar. Another thief said, "This Avadhuta Mahasya is certainly a wise fellow. Just see how he has protected himself." The guards that we saw do not appear to be ordinary human beings. Because of his extraordinary powers, people address him as Gosai, O Lord. "Oh, keep quiet," another thief retorted. "How can he be a Gosai when he eats such opulent food and wears such extravagant clothes?" Then the sinful Brahmana, commander-in-chief of the thieves, then began to speak. "I know the reason for these guards' presence. Many people come from distant places to see this Avadhuta. I would guess that a very wealthy person has come here, and these are his guards. The guards are very emotional and constantly chant the holy names of Lord Hari. Even though he has these guards today, how long can he go on avoiding us? Let us go home today. We will patiently wait for 10 days to pass." The thieves returned home while Avadhuta Nityananda peacefully enjoyed his sleep. After some time, the sinful thieves planned another raid to steal Nityananda Prabhu's ornaments. However, the night they chose to break into the Lord's house was by providence the darkest night imaginable. It was so dark that people were unable to move about. At the end of this black night, the thieves armed themselves with weapons and assembled. When they approached the Lord's house, they were suddenly blinded and could not see anything. This sudden blindness so shocked the thieves that their minds, intelligence, and life airs almost ceased to function. One fell in a ditch and was immediately covered by mosquitoes, leeches, and gadflies. Another fell into the pit where people washed their hands after eating, and scorpions and bugs bit him. Another thief fell onto a heap of thorns. He suffered miserably from the pricking of thorns and could not move. Another one fell in a ditch and broke his hands and legs. Some of the thieves got a very high fever. As the thieves were in this state of confusion, Indra, the king of heaven, happily sent forth showers of rain, creating a great storm. First the thieves were tortured by the bites of leeches and bugs, and now they suffered from a hailstorm. They wished for death to come, but life would not leave them, and so they floated on an ocean of miseries. The force of the heavy gale and pounding hail and the loud peals of thunder rendered them almost unconscious. The downpour completely drenched the thieves, and due to the cold they shivered uncontrollably. Because the thieves had come to steal from Nityananda Prabhu, Indra, the king of heaven, angrily tortured them. At last the sinful Brahmana, leader of the thieves, had a change of heart. He thought to himself, "Nityananda is not an ordinary human being. He must be God. What the people say is true. The first day he bewildered us by making us fall into a deep sleep. By the influence of his illusory energy, we could not understand a thing. Then the next day he displayed his prowess by manifesting many wonderful guards. Yet still I could not comprehend his greatness. The agony we are now suffering is proper for a sinner like me. I dared to steal from the Lord. Who can save me now? There is no alternative for me. I must surrender to this Avadhuta Nityananda." Thinking like this, the Brahmana took shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda and Prabhu with undivided attention. Remembering the lotus feet of the Lord frees one from all danger. Taking shelter of the Lord's lotus feet instantly relieves even a most grave offender. When the thieves began to think like this, they regained their eyesight. By the remembrance of Nityananda Sarup, the thieves were relieved from the torments of the rain, of the storm. They soon found their way so that they could return home after having been on the verge of death. Thereafter the thieves went to bathe in the Ganges. However, the Brahmana leader of the thieves simply ran weeping to the shelter of Nityananda Prabhu's lotus feet. Nityananda, the Lord of the universe, was sitting in his room, glancing mercifully upon his devotees, who were chanting the holy names of Lord Hari. The Lord, the crest jewel of Avaduta, shouted in ecstasy. When the leader of the thieves arrived, he raised his hands and cried out, "Please save me!" He then offered respectful obeisances. His hair stood on end, tears of love began flowing from his eyes, and his entire body began to tremble. The Brahmana cried out loud, and then became submerged in an ocean of transcendental ecstasy. Seeing the power of Nityananda Sarup, he was amazed and danced jubilantly. He raised his hands and repeatedly said, "My dear Lord Nityananda, you are the Savior of the fallen." Everyone was astonished to see the behavior of the Brahmana, and began speculating as to its cause. "He must be pretending while actually planning to rob us when the chance arises," someone said. "Because Lord Nityananda is the Savior of the fallen souls, his heart must have changed by the Lord's mercy," another person said. Seeing the wonderful change in the Brahmana, Nityananda Prabhu smilingly asked him, "O Brahmana, please tell me what you want. I am very surprised to see your wonderful qualities. Please tell me all about the glories of Krishna that you have witnessed or heard about. Speak freely. Do not worry." After hearing the Lord's words, the Brahmana was unable to utter a reply. Rather, he began to cry. He rolled on the ground all over the courtyard. He laughed, cried, and danced in his own mood. Finally, the Brahmin calmed down and narrated the entire story to the Lord. He said, "O Lord, I live in Navadvip. I am a Brahmana in name only. My behavior is worse than that of a hunter or dog-eater. O Lord, I always remain in the association of thieves whose only business is to plunder. I do nothing but commit violence to others. Everyone in Navadvip trembles upon seeing me. There is no sin I have not committed. Seeing your valuable ornaments, I wanted to steal them. One day I picked up my weapons and came with other thieves to steal your riches. That day you bewildered me with sleep. However, by the influence of your illusory energy, I was unable to recognize you. Another day, after worshipping Goddess Chandi, I came to your house along with my men, armed with swords, knives, and tridents. However, to my surprise, I saw a wonderful thing. Many huge guards surrounded your house. Each appeared like a drunken elephant. They were adorned with flower garlands hanging down to their knees, and they constantly chanted the holy names of Lord Hari as you peacefully slept inside. O Lord, I was so sinful that I still could not understand your glories. That night we returned home thinking you had hired some guards for your safety. After a gap of a few days, we came again yesterday, but as soon as we got near your house, we lost our eyesight and fell down. We suffered terribly, being pricked by thorns, bitten by leeches and bugs, and pounded by hailstorm. We were so tormented that we could hardly move. After being punished by Yamaraj in this way, we finally attained pure devotion to your lotus feet. By your causeless mercy, we can remember your lotus feet without deviation. It is by your mercy alone that we regained our sight. O Lord, you are indeed the Savior of the fallen. You have saved us from further misery. This is the glory of remembering you. O Nityananda, O Sri Balagopal, please protect me. You are the only maintainer of all living beings. They say that although a person falls heavily on the ground, Mother Earth again becomes kind to him. Similarly, even if one commits offenses at your lotus feet, he is ultimately saved from further misery by your remembrance. O Lord, you forgive all kinds of offenses and display mercy on the fallen souls. I am the most sinful person because I kill brahmanas and cows. You will not find anyone more offensive than me. Still, even the most sinful person, if he takes shelter of your lotus feet, then you will liberate him without a doubt. You protect the lives of all living beings from their very birth. You are the ultimate deliverer of everyone. Anyone who remembers you will be freed from ignorance and easily go back to Godhead. In this way, the Brahmana prayed to Nityananda Prabhu, while crying out loud. Such are the pastimes of the Avadhuta. Hearing the Brahmana's prayers, everyone was struck with wonder. They all offered him respects. O Lord, I now take your leave forever. The Brahmana addressed the Lord. I do not want to maintain this sinful body anymore, because I was envious of you. I should end my life by jumping into the Ganges as atonement. Upon hearing the Brahmana's truthful words, the Lord and all the devotees became very pleased. O Brahmana, you are indeed fortunate, the Lord said. You are a staunch devotee of Lord Krishna, birth after birth. Otherwise, why did he bestow mercy upon you like this? Who could experience such a wonderful influence except a devotee? Lord Sri Chaitanya has incarnated to deliver all the fallen souls. There is no doubt about this. Listen, O Brahmana, I will accept all your sinful reactions, but you must not sin again. From now on, do not steal or commit violence toward anyone. Lead a pious life by always chanting the holy names of Lord Hari. You will then be able to deliver others. Assemble all the plunderers and preach to them that they should lead a pious life. Lord Nityananda took off his garland and happily placed it around the Brahmana's neck. Everyone loudly chanted, Jai! Jai! The Brahmana clutched Nityananda Prabhu's feet and with a faltering voice began to pray. O my dear Lord, Nityananda, Savior of the fallen, please give this sinner shelter at your lotus feet. I dared to envy you. I am so sinful. Now what is my destiny? The ocean of mercy, Lord Nityananda, placed his lotus feet on the head of the Brahmana. Having Nityananda's merciful lotus feet on his head nullified all his offenses. Later on, this Brahmana convinced many other thieves to take shelter of Sri Chaitanya's lotus feet. They gave up the sins of stealing and committing violence, and they began to behave like saintly persons. They chanted the holy names of the Lord, Hari, millions of times. They became expert in performing Vishnu Bhakti, and were maddened with prema, always singing the glories of Lord Krishna. Such was the causeless mercy of Lord Nityananda. In other incarnations, the Lord did not give much prema. But Lord Nityananda convinced everyone to take up Krishna consciousness so that they could attain the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. The Brahmin who had previously wanted to rob Nityananda Sarup now preached to his plunderer friends that they should accept Nityananda as their deliverer. The symptoms of prema, such as the shedding of tears, shivering, and the standing of the hairs on end, which are eagerly desired by great mystic yogis, were easily achieved by these plunderers. This is an exhibition of the wonderful prowess of Nityananda Swarup. O brothers, please worship the lotus feet of Nityananda. Only by his mercy can one attain the lotus feet of Gauranga. Anyone who hears about the mercy of Lord Nityananda will no doubt achieve the association of Gaurachandra. One who attentively hears about the deliverance of these thieves will certainly meet Nityananda and Sri Chaitanya. One who happily sings the glories of Nityananda Swarup will float on the ocean of transcendental bliss. Accepting Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavana Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. Nityananda Charitamrita Anchalila, Chapter 3. Lord Nityananda's Darshan of Lord Jagannath. Lord Chaitanya walked as swiftly like an infuriated lion. He soon reached Jagannath Puri and entered the temple of Lord Jagannath. By the Lord's will, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was present in the temple. Having the darshan of Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra, when Gaurachandra, the life and soul of the universe, came to see them. As soon as the Lord saw Jagannath, he loudly roared and went to embrace him. While doing so, however, the Lord fell unconscious onto the floor in ecstasy. Who can understand the unfathomable qualities of the Supreme Lord? Just by seeing Jagannath, who is non-different from him, Lord Chaitanya fainted onto the floor. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya personally attended to the Lord, but was unable to bring him back to external consciousness. Finally, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya decided to take Lord Chaitanya home. Brothers, please pick up this jewel-like personality and bring him to my house. Sarvabhauma instructed the temple guards. The guards, along with the servants of the deities who participated in the Pandu Vijay ceremony, picked up Lord Chaitanya and carried him out of the temple to Sarvabhauma's house. As they blissfully carried the Lord, they continually chanted the holy names of Hari. At that time, the devotees who had accompanied the Lord from Navadvip reached the Simha Dwara, Lion's Gate, of the main entrance to the temple. They were highly astonished by what they saw. It appeared as if ants were carrying a parcel of grain. As many people were seen happily carrying Lord Chaitanya to the home of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. After offering obeisances to Jagannath at the main entrance, all the devotees followed the Lord as the temple servants brought him to Sarvabhauma's house. As soon as the Lord was brought inside, the temple servants locked the door. Seeing the devotees that had come with the Lord from Navadvip, Sarvabhauma was especially pleased. While loudly exchanging greetings with everyone, Sarvabhauma's doubts regarding Lord Chaitanya were removed. He thus became very satisfied at heart. Who can estimate the good fortune of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya? He whose glories all the Vedas describe personally came to his house. Seeing Nityananda Prabhu, Sarvabhauma Mahashya humbly took the dust from his lotus feet. Sarvabhauma arranged a guide so that the devotees could see Lord Jagannath. The guide made this request of the devotees with folded hands. Please remain peaceful while seeing Lord Jagannath. Do not act like the previous Gosai. I do not understand what kind of people you are. If you promise to remain peaceful, only then will I take you to see Lord Jagannath. What can I say? The way that sannyasi fell to the floor, no ordinary man could survive that. I request all of you to please see Lord Jagannath with utmost restraint. Hearing these words, all the devotees began to laugh, saying, Do not worry. Do not worry. All the devotees then left to see Lord Jagannath. Thereafter they entered the temple and saw the Lord of the universe, the origin of the first quadruple expansion, happily manifested in the midst of his devotees. Seeing Lord Jagannath, all the devotees began to cry. They offered obeisances to him, circumambulated him, and prayed before him. Nityananda, absorbed in love for Lord Chaitanya, became terribly agitated upon seeing Lord Jagannath, so much so that he was unable to remain steady. As soon as he saw Lord Jagannath, Nityananda ran to embrace him. The guards could not check him, and so Nityananda climbed onto the altar and embraced the deity of Balaram. As Nityananda climbed onto the deity's throne, the guards tried to stop him, catching hold of his hand, but he simply pushed them away. He then took the garland from Lord Balaram and placed it around his neck. At this time the temple priests took garlands from Lord Jagannath and happily offered them to the devotees. Receiving Lord Jagannath's mercy in the form of his garlands, all the devotees became extremely pleased. Thereafter they returned to Sarvabhauma's house. Wearing the garland of Balaram, Nityananda walked like the king of elephants. The temple guards thought, This mendicant is not an ordinary man. How could anyone survive after touching Balaram? We control even mad elephants, and so what to speak of ordinary men? We tried to grab him, but he scattered us like straws. Remembering this incident, the temple guards showed great respect to Nityananda whenever they saw him. In his mood as a child, Nityananda Swarup often embraced the Lord with loving affection. Meanwhile, Lord Chaitanya remained unconscious at the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya sat at his feet while the devotees surrounded the Lord, chanting the names of Ram and Krishna. The transcendental qualities of Gaur Chandra are inconceivable and unfathomable. Even after 9 hours, he did not regain consciousness. It was only after a long time that Lord Chaitanya, the life and soul of the universe, returned to external consciousness. All the devotees chanted the holy names of Lord Hari. Becoming composed, the Lord asked everyone, "What happened to me today?" When you saw Lord Jagannath, you fell unconscious into the ground. Lord Nityananda explained. Fortunately, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was present at that time. He picked you up and brought you to his home. In ecstatic bliss, you remained in trance for 9 hours. Here is Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya offering you his respectful obeisances. The Lord embraced Sarvabhauma and said, "Lord Jagannath is very merciful. He kindly brought me to the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. I had grave doubts about how I would attain your good association. Today Lord Krishna has effortlessly fulfilled my desire." Saying this and looking at Sarvabhauma, the Lord began to smile. He continued, "Listen. Today I saw Lord Jagannath directly. Seeing Lord Jagannath, I intensely desired to embrace him, but as soon as I ran toward him, I lost consciousness and so was unaware of anything thereafter. Fortunately, Sarvabhauma was there, and so I was protected from danger. I vow that from today on, I will see Lord Jagannath only from a distance. I will never enter the temple room. Rather, I will see Jagannath while standing beside the Garuda Stamba. By good fortune, I did not embrace Lord Jagannath. Had I done so, it would have been a great impediment." Nityananda Prabhu replied, "Today you've been saved. Now it is already quite late. Please go and take bath." Nityananda, "You can control me at all times," Lord Chaitanya said. "I surrender unto you." The Lord happily bathed and then smilingly sat with the devotees. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya brought varieties of Mahaprasad and placed it before the Lord. Lord Chaitanya offered his obeisances to the Mahaprasad and then began to honor it, along with his devotees. Anyone who hears of the ecstatic eating pastimes of Sri Gaurachandra and Nilachala will obtain the association of Nityananda Prabhu without a doubt. By hearing of Nityananda's visit to Nilachala, and as described in Ancha Kanda, one will float in the ocean of krishna-prema. Accepting Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavana Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. Nityananda Charitamrita Anchalila. Lord Nityananda's deliverance of the merchants of Saptagram and his meeting with Advaita Acharya, Chapter 6. Nityananda Prabhu stayed at Kadadha for some time and then went to Saptagram. Accompanied by his associates, Saptagram is famous because the 7 sages had previously resided there. It is also known as Triveni Gata. The 7 sages performed austerity there on the bank of the Ganges, and thus achieved the lotus feet of Sri Govinda. The 3 rivers, Ganges, Yamuna, and Saraswati, join at this place. Triveni Gata is well known throughout the universe. Simply seeing this holy place eradicates one's sinful reactions. With great happiness, Nityananda Prabhu bathed at the confluence of the 3 rivers with his devotees. The Lord stayed at the house of the most fortunate Udhadara Datta. Near the shore of Triveni Ghat, Udhadara Datta faithfully served the lotus feet of Nityananda Prabhu with his body, mind, and words. Who can estimate the fortune of Udharana Datta? For he received the chance to serve the lotus feet of Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Sarup is the Lord of Udhadarana Datta, birth after birth, and Udharana Datta is the servant of Nityananda Prabhu, birth after birth. Due to Udharana Datta, the entire mercantile community became purified. There is no doubt about this. Lord Nityananda incarnated to deliver the merchant caste. He bestowed love and devotion upon them. In Saptagram, he personally performed kirtan at the house of each and every merchant. The merchants worshipped his lotus feet with their hearts and souls. Everyone became astonished upon seeing the merchants' worship of Lord Krishna. The glories of Nityananda Prabhu are unlimited. He delivered fools, fallen souls, and merchants. He happily enjoyed his pastimes of Namasankirtan at Saptagram. No one could adequately describe these ecstatic pastimes of chanting and dancing, even in 100 years. The residents of Saptagram now enjoyed the happiness the people of Nadia had previously enjoyed. Everyone performed Namasankirtan without experiencing the influence of thirst, sleep, or fear. Lord Nityananda performed kirtan in everyone's house, on every street of Saptagram. As soon as people would see the wonderful emotions displayed by Nityananda Sarup, they could not remain steady, but became overwhelmed. What to speak of others, even Muslims, who were naturally adverse to Lord Vishnu, took shelter of Nityananda's lotus feet. When the Brahmins of Saptagram saw tears of love in the eyes of Muslims, they condemned themselves. All glories to Avaduta Nityananda, whose mercy makes these wonderful pastimes possible. Nityananda Prabhu happily enjoyed his pastimes throughout Saptagram. After some days, Nityananda Prabhu came to Santipur, to the house of his most dear Advaita Acharya. When Advaita Acharya saw the beautiful face of Nityananda Prabhu, his happiness knew no bounds. He shouted and offered him obeisances. He repeatedly embraced Nityananda Prabhu, drenching his body with tears of ecstatic love. Seeing one another intoxicated, both Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Acharya, they experienced indescribable feelings. They rolled on the ground while holding on to each other, trying to touch one another's feet. Both roared like lions, and their madness could not be controlled. After a while, Lord Nityananda became calm and sat down in a grave mood. Magnanimous Advaitacharya folded his hands and began offering prayers to Nityananda. Tumi Nityananda, Murti Nityananda Nama, Murti Manta Tumi Chaitanyera Sudama, Sarva Jiva Parit Rana Tumi Maha Hetu, Maha Pralayeti Tumi Sajadama Setu, Tumi se bujhao Chaitanyera prema bhakti, Tumi se Chaitanya Bhakshe Dharapurna Shakti, Brahma Shiva Naradi Bhakta Namayara, Tumi se Parama Upadesta Svakara, Vishnu Bhakti Sabi Payena Toma Haite, Tatapio Apimana Naspase Tomate, Patita Pavana Tumi Doya Dristi Sunya, Tomare Sejana Yara Ache Bahu Punya, Sarva Yagana Maya E Vigraha Tomara, Abhidya Bandhana Kahu Smarena Yahara, Yadi Tumi Prakashana Kara Apanare, Tabe Kara Shakti Ache Janite Tumare, Akroda Paramananda Tumi Maheshwara, Sahasra Badanadi Deva Mahidara, Raksha Kula Hasta Tumi, Sri Lakshmana Anda Chandra, Tumi Gopaputra Haladara Murti Manta, Murkanicha Adama Patita Udharite, Tumi Avatirna Hayacha Priti Pite, Ye Bhakti Vanchaye Yogisvara Munigane, Toma Haite Taha Paibe Yete Jane. Your name is Nityananda, and indeed you are Nityananda, eternal bliss. You are the form of Sri Chaitanya's transcendental qualities. You deliver all living beings and protect religious principles at the time of annihilation. You descended to give Chaitanya-prema bhakti. Indeed, you are the full potency of Lord Chaitanya. You teach supreme knowledge to the devotees, headed by Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Narada. Everyone receives Vishnu bhakti from you, yet you are untouched by pride. You deliver the fallen souls without seeing their faults. Only the very pious can know you. You are the only enjoyer of sacrifices. Simply remembering you destroys the bondage of ignorance at once. If you do not manifest yourself, then who will understand you? You are the most blissful Supreme Lord, completely free from anger. You are the thousand-headed Ananta, who holds the universes on his hoods. You are Sri Lakshmana Chandra, destroyer of the Rakshasa dynasty. You are Haladara, the son of a cowherd. You descended to save the fallen, wretched, foolish, and low-class people. By your mercy, everyone easily achieves the devotional service that is aspired for by great sages and mystic yogis. While describing the glories of Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya became absorbed in a trance of love of God. Advaita Acharya knew the glories of Nityananda Prabhu. Some rare, great souls also know these facts. The quarreling that one sees between them is nothing but an expression of transcendental bliss. Who can understand the statement of Advaita Acharya? Know for certain that he is non-different from the Supreme Lord. Both Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Acharya spent their time happily discussing auspicious topics of Lord Krishna. After exchanging many jokes and increasing his love and affection for him, Nityananda Prabhu took permission from Advaita Acharya and left for Navadvip. Accepting Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavan Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. Nityananda Charitamrita, Shri-lila, Chapter 9. Lord Nityananda's departure from Nilachal and his glorification by Lord Chaitanya. Lord Nityananda resided at Navadvip, completely merged in an ocean of prema bhakti. He inspired everyone to chant the holy names of the Lord, so that singing and dancing for Krishna's pleasure were people's only duties. Previously he had sported with the cowherd boys in every house in Gokula. Now Nityananda Balarama manifested the same Gokula pastimes by happily performing Nama Samkirtan. Once, supremely independent Nityananda Prabhu desired to see Lord Chaitanya, and so, after taking permission from Mother Sachi, he departed for Nilachal. He traveled with his devotees through the countryside, always overwhelmed with prema. While singing the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the devotees danced, shouted, and cried with joy as Nityananda Prabhu made his way to Nilachal in ecstasy. After a few days, Nityananda Prabhu reached Nilachal. Arriving at Kamalapura and seeing the top of Jagannath temple, he fell senseless to the ground. Tears of love incessantly streamed from his eyes as he called out, "Shri Krishna Chaitanya." After entering Nilachal, Nityananda Prabhu remained within a flower garden. Who except Sri Chaitanya can understand the mind of Nityananda? Aware that Nityananda had arrived, Sri Gaurasundara left all the devotees behind and went to greet him. He soon reached the spot where Nityananda sat in deep meditation. When Sri Chaitanya saw Nityananda absorbed in meditation, he became filled with ecstatic prema. He then recited his own verses in glorification of Nityananda while circumambulating him. O readers, please hear the glories of Nityananda spoken by Sri Chaitanya. Hearing them causes one's attachment for him to increase. Grinijad Yavani Panim Visedba Sausnu Kalayam Tatapi Brahmana Banjam Nityananda Parasvujam. Even if Lord Nityananda marries a meat-eater girl or enters a wine shop, he is still worshipable by Lord Brahma. Gaurahari repeatedly recited this verse with great devotion while circumambulating Nityananda Prabhu. Realizing that the Lord had come, Nityananda Swarup instantly arose with awe and reverence, uttering, Hari! Hari! No one would be able to describe the happiness felt by Nityananda upon seeing Gaurachandra. He roared like a lion and fell forcibly onto the ground in ecstatic love. The two lords circled one another and offered obeisances to each other. Then both lords embraced with love and cried. Sometimes they rolled on the ground with joy and roared in such a way that it defeated the sound of ferocious lions. The love and affection they exchanged was like that between Sri Ramachandra and Lakshman. They glorified each other, reciting favorite verses and offered obeisances to one another with folded hands. The shedding of tears, shivering, laughing, becoming unconscious, the standing of the hairs of the body on end, paleness, and many other symptoms of krishna-prema were clearly visible in both of their bodies. Only the Lord's most intimate associates saw the wonderful love and devotion displayed by them. Lord Gaurahari folded his hands and offered prayers to Nityananda. O Nityananda, you are actually Nityananda, eternal bliss. You are the support of the Vaishnavas, and you are Lord Ananta. All the ornaments decorating your body are incarnations of Prema Bhakti. You have happily decorated yourself with the ornaments of 9 types of Bhakti. Your causeless mercy will certainly liberate all kinds of wretched sinners. Even demigods, great sages, and mystic yogis desire the devotion you awarded to the merchants of Saptagram. Lord Krishna, who is glorified by the Vedas, is your property, and so you can sell him to anyone. Who has the power to understand your glories? You are ecstatic, krishna-prema personified. When you perform Namaste Sankirtan, you lose yourself in ecstasy. You glorify Krishna's transcendental qualities throughout the entire day and night. Krishna Chandra always resides within your heart. In fact, your body is the abode of Krishna's pastimes. If anyone offers love and respect to you, Krishna never rejects him. After hearing this eulogy of Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda Prabhu folded his hands and spoke very humbly. Although you are my Lord, somehow you are praising me. This shows your affection for your devotees. You can circumambulate me, offer obeisances to me, kill me or save me. You can do anything you wish. What more can I say, O Lord? What do you not see with your divine vision? You are the supreme controller of everyone's mind and life. Whatever you inspire me to do, I will do. before you made me accept the renounced order of life. Now you have turned me into this. I left the life of an ascetic and now carry a flute, stick, horns, and bracelets. You gave the treasure of austerity and devotion to your dear associates, headed by Sri Advaita Acharya. But just see what you have done to me. You have made me leave the life of an ascetic so that ordinary people now laugh at me. I am your puppet. Make me dance for your pleasure. Are you punishing me or rewarding me? Only you know. By your causeless mercy, you can even make a tree chant your holy names. Lord Chaitanya replied, the ornaments you wear represent the 9 kinds of devotional service and nothing else. Hearing, chanting, remembering, offering obeisances, and so on. Are eternally your decorations. Ordinary people cannot understand why Lord Shiva holds the king of snakes on his head. From the spiritual point of view, Lord Ananta is the life and soul of Lord Shiva. Mahadev holds his worshipable Lord in the guise of holding a snake. Without knowing the depth of his character, if anyone blasphemes him, his spiritual progress is checked. I do not find anything but bhakti rasa in you. I am telling you this from my heart. You are fully absorbed in the happiness of Vrindavana as one of Nanda Maharaja's family members. You have decorated yourself with various ornaments as an expression of your happiness. A fortunate person, one who feels pleasure by seeing your mysterious qualities, will surely meet Krishna. A stick, flute, garland of kunja and flowers, and sandalwood paste naturally decorate your transcendental body. Your associates appear to me as being none other than Sridham, Sudama, and others. I consider that all the cowherd boys of Vrindavana that formerly played with you are now your associates. They all have the same mood, complexion, and potency of Nanda Maharaja's relatives. Anyone who loves you and your devotees certainly loves me. Who can describe the two Lords' glorification of one another? While praising each other, they were filled with transcendental ecstasy. After Chaitanya and Nityananda regained their composure, they sat down together in a secluded flower garden. The talks between the controller and the supreme controller in that garden are known only to the Vedas, wherein Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya met each other like this. they would do so without any associates. By the supreme will of Sri Chaitanya, not a single person heard the blissful talks that the two lords enjoyed. Knowing the Lord's mind, Nityananda Prabhu purposely met him alone. Nityananda Prabhu always tried to conceal himself, because the Lord did not wish for him to manifest himself to everyone. The heart of the Supreme Lord is most soft and mysterious. This is the opinion of the Vedas, as well as authorities like Lord Brahma. No one knows him in truth, and yet as far as they are able, they attempt to glorify him. This is the verdict of Goddess Lakshmi. The Lord's wonderful qualities are such that everyone thinks that he loves them the most. Jai. Nityananda Prabhu often spoke very confidentially to Lord Chaitanya. Nityananda Prabhu often spoke very confidentially to Lord Sri Chaitanya. He once said, "I would like to live the life of an ascetic and worship Krishna wholeheartedly. I do not know why he had made me give up that life to carry a stick, flute, books, peacock feathers, gunjamala, and ropes. It is understood that of all the devotees of the Lord, the cowherd boys and girls are the best. The devotional service performed by the cowherd boys and girls of Vrindavana is the result of their severe austerities. Exalted personalities, such as Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, also desire to attain this mood. Only a recipient of the Lord's mercy is qualified to receive Raja Bhakti. That Sri Uddhava desires this devotional mood of Raja is found in Srimad Bhagavatam 10:47-63. Vande Nanda Raja Strinam Padarenum Abhikshanasha Yasam Hari Kato digitam punati bhuvana trayam. I repeatedly offer my respects to the dust of the feet of the women of Nanda Maharaj cowherd village. When these gopis loudly chant the glories of Sri Krishna, the vibration purifies the three worlds. Whatever the Vaishnavas offer to Sri Gaurasundara, he gladly accepts. By the mercy of Krishna, all the devotees remain merged in the ocean of transcendental bliss. However, the devotees sometimes engage in mock fighting. Seeing this mock fighting, if a person takes the side of one devotee and criticizes another, then he should be considered most unfortunate. All the devotees of the Lord are non-different from the Lord, just as the hands, fingers, and legs are inseparable parts of the body. Still, it is the conviction of all Vaishnavas that Sri Krishna Chaitanya is the worshipable Lord of everyone in all respects. They always glorify the Lord as the supreme controller, sole maintainer, supreme witness, and unfathomable truth. One can achieve the wealth of bhakti by the mercy of those in whom the Supreme Lord mercifully manifests himself. Even if the Lord invests all his energies and the quality of omniscience in a devotee, omniscience in a devotee, he still punishes him when he commits offenses. It is the special feature of Lord Chaitanya that he never failed to glorify Nityananda and Advaita, even if these two personalities performed uncommon activities. Gaurachandra still did not say anything to criticize them. Again, one can achieve the wealth of bhakti by the mercy of those in whom the Supreme Lord mercifully manifests himself, even if the Lord invests all his energies and the quality of omniscience in a devotee. He still punishes him when he commits offenses. After spending some blissful moments with Avadhuta Nityananda, Lord Gauranga bade farewell and returned to his residence. Nityananda Sarup then happily went to see Lord Jagannath. Anyone who hears this description of the meeting between Chaitanya and Nityananda will be relieved from material bondage. Accepting Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavana Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. Nityananda Charitamrita Anchalila, Chapter 4. Lord Nityananda's grand bathing ceremony at the house of Raghava Pandit. O brothers, listen attentively to the topics of Ancha Khanda that describe the pastimes of Nitai Chand. One day Shri Gaurasundara, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appearing in a human-like form, sat alone with Nityananda. Prabhu Balesuna Nityananda Mahamati Satvare Chala to me Nabadvipa Parti Pratigana Kariyachi Apanara Muke Mukha Nicha Daridra Basava Prema Muke Tumiyo Takila Yadi Muni Dhamma Kari Apana Udama Bhavasva Parihari Tabe mukha nichayata patita samsara baladeki arakeba kariba udara bhakti rasadata tumi sasvarile tabe avatara Baki nimite karile ete ke amara bakya yadi satya chau tabe abilasve tumi gauda desha yau mukha nicha patita Dukiya yata gyana bhakti diya karagiya sarvare mochana. Chaitanya said, "Listen, magnanimous Nityananda, go immediately to Navadvip. I had promised that I would drown everyone, including fools, fallen, and sinful people, in the ocean of krishna-prema. If you remain here with me as an ascetic, keeping a vow of silence and concealing your enthusiasm, then who will deliver the fallen souls of this world? You are the bestower of love and devotion. Please tell me, if you always restrain yourself, then what is the use of your incarnation? If you want to make my words prove true, go to Bengal at once. Deliver everyone by giving prema bhakti to all the foolish, fallen, low-class, and distressed people." Instructed thus by Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda Prabhu promptly left for Bengal, along with his own associates. Ramdas, Gadadhar Das, and Raghunath Vijay, Krishnadas Pandit, Parameswara Das, and the most blissful Purandar Pandit went with Nityananda Swarup to Bengal. As he began his journey, he first induced his associates to become greatly ecstatic, so that they practically forgot themselves. There was no end to the ecstatic symptoms that arose in their bodies. The mood of Sri Gopal manifested in the body of Ramdas, the foremost among all the Vaishnavas. On the way to Bengal, Ramdas transformed into a threefold bending form and remained unconscious for 9 hours. Gadadhar Das, absorbed in the mood of Radhika, suddenly began to laugh loudly while saying, "Who will buy yogurt?" Greatly magnanimous Raghunath Vijay Upadhyaya displayed the mood of Revati. Both Krishnadas and Parameswara Das constantly made mischief in the mood of cowherd boys. Purandar Pandit climbed up a tree and then jumped down, saying, "I am the great Angada." Nityananda Prabhu, the origin of Sri Ananta, inspired everyone to revive his original constitutional mood. The devotees walked very fast, sometimes forgetting themselves, so that they walked in the wrong direction. They often asked the local people, "Brothers, please tell us how to reach the shore of the Ganges." "Alas, alas, you are on the wrong path," the people would reply. "You just wasted 6 hours of your journey." Getting proper direction, they would return to the correct path. Later on, when they again asked for the right path, the people told them to take a 20-mile detour to reach the correct path. All of them smilingly walked along the road. They hardly knew their own selves, and so what to speak of the roads? None of them felt the urges of the body, such as hunger, thirst, fear, or foremost, or distress. They were completely merged in transcendental ecstasy. No one can describe the unlimited pastimes Nityananda Prabhu performed on the way to Bengal. Nityananda, the origin of Sri Ananta, finally reached the village of Panihati by the shore of the Ganges. Nityananda Prabhu and his associates then arrived at the house of Raghava Pandit in Panihati, at Panihati. Raghava Pandit was overjoyed to see Nityananda Prabhu. Sri Makara Davjajkara, who was a disciple of Raghava Pandit, also became very pleased. Nityananda Prabhu, along with his associates, happily resided at the village of Panihata for some time. Always overwhelmed with prema, Nityananda would often go into trance of ecstasy. When he desired to dance, 3 famous singers would hurriedly come. Greatly pious Madhava Ghosh was very expert in performing kirtan. Indeed, there was no better singer in the world. He was known as the singer of Vrindavana and was very dear to Nityananda Swarup. As soon as the 3 brothers, Madhava, Govinda, and Vasudeva, would begin to sing, the Supreme Lord Nityananda would begin to dance. When supremely powerful Avaduta Nityananda danced, the earth would shake with his every step. He continually chanted the holy name of Lord Hari. Seeing his towering figure and ecstatic dancing, the people were struck with wonder. Sometimes when he glanced at someone while dancing, that person would fall into the ground. Being filled with love of God and absorbed in transcendental mellows. This marked the auspicious beginning of Lord Nityananda's deliverance of the fallen conditioned souls. He would dance for a long time, manifesting all the signs of ecstatic love of Krishna. After some time, Nityananda Prabhu sat down on a throne and ordered his servants to perform his abhishek. All the devotees, headed by Raghava Pandit, quickly arranged for the abhishek, bringing thousands of pitchers of Ganges water that was then mixed with varieties of perfume. With great satisfaction they poured this scented water on Lord Nityananda's head. Everyone chanted, Hari, Hari, on all sides. They recited suitable mantras while performing the abhishek and sang songs in glorification of Nityananda Prabhu. All the Lord's associates became submerged in an ocean of bliss. After the abhishek, the devotees dressed Nityananda Prabhu in new cloth and applied sandalwood paste to his body. They decorated his broad chest with a garland of beautiful flowers and tulsi leaves. They then placed a throne decorated with gold before the Lord. Lord Nityananda sat upon the throne while Sri Raghavananda held an umbrella above his head. The devotees began to glorify Nityananda Prabhu, so that there arose a great cry on all sides. Everyone raised their hands and exclaimed, Save us! They all became absorbed in the ecstasy of krishna-prema. Lord Nityananda, absorbed in his own blissful mood, glanced at everyone, showering love of God upon them. He ordered Raghava Pandit, make a garland of kadamba flowers and bring it to me quickly. I am very fond of kadamba flowers. In fact, I always reside in a forest of kadamba trees. Raghavananda folded his hands and said, Lord, it is not yet the season for kadamba trees to flower. Go to your home and look carefully, Lord Nityananda told Raghava. There may be a flower or two somewhere. Raghava Pandit went straight to his house. To his great surprise, he saw something most wonderful. Beautiful kadamba flowers blossomed on the lemon tree in his courtyard. How wonderful were the colors and fragrance of those flowers. Just seeing them freed one from the material bondage. Seeing those beautiful kadamba flowers, Raghava Pandit began losing consciousness in ecstasy. Controlling himself, he quickly made a garland of kadamba flowers and then brought it before Lord Nityananda. Nityananda Prabhu was very pleased and put the garland around his neck. The sweet fragrance of the kadamba flowers overwhelmed the Vaishnavas, and they felt very blissful. Suddenly, the most wonderful thing happened. Everyone could smell the scent of another wonderful flower. The enchanting aroma of Kadamba flowers filled the 10 directions. Nityananda Prabhu smilingly said, "Listen, brothers, can you tell me what you are smelling?" They all folded their hands and replied, "We smell the fragrance of wonderful flowers. The fragrance is coming from all directions." Nityananda Prabhu, out of his causeless mercy, began to explain a most confidential topic. Listen, all of you, to this mystery, for you must know the truth in detail. Today, Chaitanya Gosai came here from Nilachal to hear our kirtan. He wore a garland of Dhammanaka flowers and sat in a tree unseen. The 4 directions are filled with the aroma of that wonderful garland. To see your chanting and dancing, the Lord came here from Nilachala. Give up all other affairs and always sing the glories of Krishna. May all of you forever glorify Sri Krishna Chaitanya Chandra and be fully merged in the ocean of krishna-prema. Saying this, Nityananda Prabhu shouted loudly and showered love of God in all directions. Being drenched by the rain of prema, everyone fainted in ecstasy. My dear brothers, please hear about the potency of Nityananda Prabhu, whereby he awarded prema bhakti to everyone in this world. By his mercy, everyone easily received the prema bhakti of the gopis of Vrindavana, that is described in Srimad Bhagavatam. When Nityananda sat on the golden throne, all his associates danced in front of him. Someone climbed a tree and walked on the leaves, and yet did not fall down. Out of ecstasy, someone shouted loudly and jumped from a tree. Someone roared like a lion and caught the root of a tree, pulling it out of the ground while chanting, "Hurry, hurry!" Someone went to a forest of betel nuts and gathered 5 or 6 trees together. With immense strength, due to love of God, he uprooted them all. All the symptoms of love of God mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, such as the shedding of tears, becoming stunned, breathing heavily, perspiring, the standing of the hair on end, roaring loudly, the faltering of the voice, paleness, and falling unconscious, were fully manifest in the bodies of everyone by the causeless mercy of Lord Nityananda. Wherever Nityananda Mahasya mercifully glanced, he showered love and devotion. Anyone Nityananda looked upon would thus fall unconscious due to ecstatic krishna-prema. The devotees tried to grab hold of Nityananda Sarup's feet as he smiled, sitting on his golden throne. The Lord invested his energies in all his chief associates. They became omniscient, and their statements became infallible. They appeared to be as beautiful as Cupid. Whomever they touched with their hands became overwhelmed with love of God and thus forgot everything else. Nityananda Prabhu resided like this in the village of Panihata for 3 months, continuing his pastimes of distributing love and devotion. For 3 months, all the devotees were absorbed in an ecstatic trance so that they stopped performing their ordinary activities. Indeed, they did not eat for 3 months. All they did was continuously dance in ecstasy. The blissful pastimes Nityananda Prabhu performed in the village of Panihati cannot be found in the 4 Vedas. Who can describe the extent of the pastimes performed by Lord Nityananda? From time to time, he would personally dance surrounded by his associates. Sometimes he would sit in a hero's posture and encourage all the devotees to dance. The dancing of only one of his servants flooded the surrounding area with krishna-prema. Just as banana trees fall flat onto the ground by the force of a great storm, so the devotees fell flat onto the ground, overwhelmed by the ecstasy of prema. As Lord Nityananda was personally overwhelmed by ecstatic love of Krishna, he transformed all the devotees into images of himself. He constantly engaged in the congregational chanting of the holy names of Krishna as introduced by Sri Chaitanya, the Mahamantra, and encouraged all the devotees to follow his example. Anyone who came to see Lord Nityananda became overwhelmed with krishna-prema. Such was the example of his distribution of love of Krishna. Whenever a servant of Lord Nityananda desired to have something, he would instantly receive it. Everyone thus merged into an ocean of transcendental bliss, so that they did not know how 3 months passed. Accepting the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu, I, Vrindavana Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama. Nityananda Charitamrita, Lila, Chapter 5. Lord Nityananda's meeting with Gadadhar Das. Once Nityananda Prabhu desired to wear some fine ornaments. As soon as he desired this, varieties of valuable and enchanting ornaments made with silver, gold, and diamonds were immediately brought before him. Fortunate people brought these ornaments that were bedecked with jewels and coral. They also brought fine cloth and pearl necklaces, which they presented to the Lord while offering obeisances. The Lord then decorated himself according to his own sweet will. He decorated his 2 hands with golden bangles, and put 10 golden rings beset with diamonds on each of his 10 fingers. He decorated his neck with necklaces studded with jewels, pearls, and coral. To please Lord Shiva, he took a string of rude raksha and cat's eyes decorated with gold and silver respectively, and placed it around his neck. He placed 2 beautiful golden earrings bedecked with pearls on his ears. He decorated his lotus feet with silver ankle bells and placed very attractive rings on his toes. He dressed fine white, blue, and yellow clothing. The Lord looked very enchanting dressed in this way. Garlands of Arabian jasmine and kampaka flowers swung around his neck. Sandalwood paste was applied to his beautiful limbs. His head was adorned with a turban made of fine cloth that was decorated with flowers of various colors. The beauty of his supremely attractive face defeated the beauty of millions of moons. He continuously smiled and chanted the holy names of Lord Hari. In whichever direction Nityananda Prabhu glanced, his lotus eyes would sparkle showers of krishna-prema. He sported with a stick that was made of fine gold-plated sculptured iron. He always carried this stick in his hand in the mood of Lord Balaram, who had carried a similar stick. Nityananda Prabhu's associates, who were in the mood of cowherd boys of Vrindavana, offered varieties of ornaments such as bracelets, bangles, anklets, rings, garlands, a horn, stick, flute, rope, and garland of kunja to their beloved Nityananda. Nityananda, by his own sweet will, enjoyed varieties of pastimes with his associates. Lord Nityananda, along with his associates, visited the houses of the devotees. He traveled to all the villages on both sides of the Ganges, spreading the glories of the holy name of Krishna. He constantly enjoyed the transcendental mellows of loving relationships. His name and form are non-different. Simply seeing him, all living entities became captivated. Even atheists would immediately offer prayers to Nityananda as soon as they saw him, and at once desired to offer everything to him. The transcendental body of Nityananda Sarup was very sweet and attractive. He generously bestowed his mercy upon everyone. Whether eating, sleeping, or traveling, he did not waste a moment by not performing Nama Samkirtan. Wherever Nityananda performed Samkirtan and danced in ecstasy, he captivated the minds of hundreds of people. Even illiterate village children, being infused with the potency of Nityananda Prabhu, would pull big trees out of the ground without difficulty. They would roar loudly as they uprooted the trees, shouting, "We are cowherd boys!" The strength of one child was such that even 7 men could not control him. The children happily roared like lions and chanted, "All glories to Sri Krishna Chaitanya! All glories to Sri Nityananda!" Nityananda Prabhu, the life and soul of everyone, captivated the hearts of even small children. Some children ate nothing for an entire month. People were astonished to see such things. All the devotees became overwhelmed with ecstatic love, and Nityananda Prabhu was their sole protector. Lord Nityananda fed everyone with his own hands, treating them like his sons. Sometimes he bound someone with rope, or even beat him, and then laughed loudly with joy. One day, to show affection to Gadadhar Das, Nityananda came to his house. Gadadhar Das Mahasya was fully absorbed in transcendental bliss in the mood of the gopis. He placed a pot of Ganges water on his head and cried out, "Who will buy milk?" he had a beautiful deity of Sri Balagopal at his house. The beauty and sweetness of this deity were matchless. Seeing this enchanting deity of Balagopal, Nityananda Prabhu held him to his chest with great love and affection. When everyone saw Sri Balagopal clinging to Nityananda Prabhu's heart, they loudly chanted the holy name of Lord Hari. Absorbed in the mood of a cowherd boy, Lord Nityananda shouted and began to dance. Madhavananda Gosha sang about Krishna's pastimes of demanding taxes from the gopis. While listening to this song, Avaduta Nityananda became very pleased. The sweet voice of fortunate Madhavananda captivated the heart of Nityananda. The Lord danced, imitating the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavana. The fortunate Gadadhar Das forgot himself, being absorbed in the mood of the gopis. While hearing the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavana, Nityananda Prabhu danced so emotionally that it was beyond description. He matchlessly danced, exhibiting all the symptoms of ecstatic love and devotion. The movements of his dancing could be compared only to lightning. His legs and hands appeared incredibly enchanting. How wonderfully he moved his eyes and smiled. The shaking of his head was wonderful. He put his beautiful feet together and jumped up and down in a most spectacular way. All the men and women floated in the happiness of krishna-prema by the merciful glance of Nityananda. His merciful glance was so intense that everyone forgot himself in spiritual ecstasy. By his mercy, everyone easily achieved the love and devotion aspired to by great sages and yogis. When a person even as big as an elephant does not eat for 3 days, he will certainly become weak and hardly able to walk. Therefore, when a child eats nothing for a month and still behaves like a lion, it is certainly the manifestation of Lord Nityananda's mercy and potency. Still, by the illusory energy of Sri Chaitanya, no one could understand this fact. Completely absorbed in love of God, Nityananda Prabhu stayed at the house of Gadadhar Das. Gadadhar Das was absorbed in trance as he induced everyone to chant the holy name of Lord Hari. In Gadadhar Das's village there lived a most sinful Qazi, who was vehemently opposed to the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Fully absorbed in spiritual bliss, Gadadhar Mahasaya fearlessly went one night to the house of this Qazi, of whom everyone was afraid. Chanting the holy names of Lord Hari, he entered the Qazi's house. All the guards and servants of the Qazi saw him, but no one dared to confront him. Gadadhar said, "Where is the Qazi? Chant the name of Krishna right now, or I will tear off your heads." The Qazi came out of his room with anger that blazed like fire. Seeing Gadadhar Das, however, he became somewhat calm. The Qazi asked, "Gadadhar, why did you come here?" "I have something to tell you," Gadadhar replied. "Sri Chaitanya and Sri Nityananda Prabhu have appeared in this world and have made everyone chant the holy name of Lord Hari. You are the only one who has not chanted the holy name of the Lord. This is why I have come to you. Chant now the most auspicious holy names of Lord Hari, for they will deliver you from all your sins." By nature, the Qazi was a most envious person. Becoming stunned, he did not utter a word. The Qazi smiled and said, "Listen, Gadadhar, tomorrow I will chant the holy name of Lord Hari. but for today, please go home." As soon as Gadadhar Das heard the name of Hari from the mouth of the Qazi, he became filled with ecstatic love. "Why tomorrow?" he said. "You have just chanted the name of Hari. Now, no misfortune will ever befall you because you have chanted the name of Lord Hari." Saying this, Gadadhar Das became overwhelmed with ecstasy, so that he danced and clapped his hands. Later, Gadadhar Das returned home. Lord Nityananda resided in the body of Gadadhar Das. Such was the extraordinary glory of Gadadhar Das, who was considered an associate of Lord Chaitanya. He mercifully glanced upon the Qazi, who the devotees avoided at a great distance. The Qazi had forcibly converted many Hindus into Muslims, and was a most sinful person. Yet even a person as sinful as the Qazi gives up his violent nature by the merciful association of Krishna's devotees. It is indeed a fact that even snakes, fire, or tigers cannot threaten one who is absorbed in Krishna consciousness. By Nityananda Prabhu's mercy, his associates easily received the love and devotion desired by Lord Brahma, and the attachment for Krishna aspired for by the gopis. O brothers, please worship the lotus feet of Nityananda Prabhu. It is by his mercy that one obtains the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya. Accepting Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavana Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. Nityananda Charitamrita, Lila, Chapter 10, Lord Nityananda's Pastimes of Accepting Lunch at the House of Gadadhar Pandit. When Lord Nityananda saw Lord Jagannath, he became overwhelmed with ecstasy and began to roll on the floor. Indeed, he repeatedly fell to the floor with great force, and even 100 people could not control him. Seeing Lord Jagannath, Lord Balarama, Subhadra, and the Sudarshan Chakra, Nityananda began to weep. Knowing the glories of Nityananda, the Brahmana priests offered him the flower garlands from Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra. When the servants of Lord Jagannath saw Nityananda Prabhu, they became extremely joyful. Those who did not know him asked others who he was. These people replied that he was the brother of Krishna Chaitanya. Nityananda Sarup embraced everyone, drenching them with his tears. After seeing Lord Jagannath, Nityananda very happily went to see Gadadhar Pandit. Only the Supreme Lord possesses the love and affection that Nityananda and Gadadhar exchanged. The most enchanting deity of Lord Gopinath resided at the house of Gadadhar Pandit. He appeared to be directly the son of Nanda Maharaj. Lord Chaitanya had personally embraced this deity. Seeing this deity bewilders even a staunch atheist. When Nityananda Prabhu saw the beautiful flute and attractive face of Gopinath, tears of love incessantly streamed from his eyes. Knowing that Nityananda had arrived, Gadadhar left his recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam, and in great haste came to greet him. As soon as they saw each other, they embraced and began to cry. They offered their obeisances to one another and began to glorify one another. One of them said, "Today my eyes are purified." The other said, "Today my life is successful." Both of them rapturously floated in the ocean of prema. The love and devotion manifested from their meeting was so intense that all the servants began to weep. The love and affection between Nityananda and Gadadhar is so wonderful that neither spoke to the other's enemies. Gadadhar's vow was that he would never see the face of a person who blasphemes Nityananda. Gadadhar Pandit Gosai does not even manifest himself to those who have no love for Nityananda Gosai. When they became peaceful, Gadadhar Pandit and Nityananda Prabhu sat down to discuss the auspicious glories of Sri Chaitanya. Thereafter, Gadadhar invited Nityananda Prabhu to accept lunch at his home. Nityananda Prabhu had brought 40 kilos of very fine white rice from Bengal for Gadadhar to offer to Lord Gopinath. He also brought a beautiful colored piece of cloth for the Lord, which he placed before Gadadhar. Nityananda said, "My dear Gadadhar, please take this rice and cook for Gopinath. After offering it to the Lord, you may honor the remnants." Seeing the fine rice, Gadadhar smilingly said, "I've never seen such rice before. Did you bring this rice from Vaikuntha for Gopinath?" "Mother Lakshmi cooks this rice, and Krishna enjoys it." The devotees then honor the remnants. After happily praising the rice, Gadadhar took the piece of cloth and went before Lord Gopinath. He dressed Gopinath in the divinely colored cloth, and upon seeing his beauty, Gadadhar floated in the ocean of bliss. He then began to arrange for cooking by first picking spinach from the garden of the Tota Gopinath temple. Nobody plants this spinach. It grows by itself. Gadadhar collected some spinach to cook for Gopinath. He then picked the tender leaves of a tamarind tree, and after making a paste with them, he mixed it with the boiled spinach and added salt. The most fortunate Gadadhar thus cooked a sour preparation and then brought it before Gopinath to offer. Just at that moment, Gaurachandra arrived. Smiling while chanting the Mahamantra, Lord Gaurachandra called out, "Gadadhar! Gadadhar!" Gadadhar immediately appeared and offered his obeisances to the Lord with awe and reverence. The Lord smilingly said, "What is this, Gadadhar? Am I not fit to be invited? Actually, I am not separate from both of you. Even if you do not offer me prasad, I will eat it by force." The ingredients supplied by Nityananda, the remnants of Gopinath, and your cooking, I certainly deserve a share of it. While listening to these words of the Lord, both Nityananda and Gadadhar floated in the ocean of happiness. With immense satisfaction, Gadadhar brought the prasad of Gopinath and placed it before Gaurachandra. The fragrance of the rice filled the entire compound of the Tota Gopinath temple, and the Lord repeatedly praised it. "Divide the prasad into 3 parts, the Lord said. Today we will sit together and eat." Attracted by Nityananda's rice, Mahaprabhu sat down to take his meal. Both Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu sat down to eat, facing each other. They happily glorified the rice and the vegetables. The Lord said, just the fragrance of this rice guarantees one's attainment of devotion for Krishna. There is no doubt about this. O Gadadhar, what wonderful cooking! I have never eaten such a spinach preparation before. O Gadadhar, what an attractive way you have of cooking. How did you make such a preparation with tender tamarind leaves? I think you must cook for the Lord in Vaikuntha. Why are you hiding yourself? While smiling and joking in this way, the three personalities happily enjoyed their meal. Only these three know the loving sentiments of each other. Gaurachandra never discloses them to anyone. After the lords completed their meal and departed, all the devotees eagerly accepted the remnants. Anyone favored by the merciful glance of Gadadhar can actually know the science of Nityananda Sarup. In the same way, anyone inspired by Nityananda Sarup can understand the glories of Gadadhar. Nityananda Prabhu happily enjoyed the association of Gaurachandra. Sri Krishna, Chaitanya, Nityananda, and Gadadhar always resided together. They saw Lord Jagannath together and became overwhelmed when they performed Nama Sankirtan. Anyone who reads or hears about these pastimes of the Lord's taking prasad will certainly achieve Krishna and his devotional service. Accepting Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavan Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The glories of Lord Chaitanya became manifest only by the mercy of Lord Nityananda. One becomes attached to Lord Nityananda by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. One who knows Lord Nityananda never faces any adversities. Those who wish to cross the ocean of material existence and drown in the ocean of devotional service must worship Nitai Chand from Nityananda Charitamrita. Nityananda Charitamrita, Anchalila, Chapter 12, The Marriage of Lord Nityananda. One day, Lord Nityananda woke up early in the morning and set out for Ambika Nagara. He took a servant with him, Udharana Datta, who was a merchant by profession, and his intimate associate. When Lord Nityananda arrived at the door of Suryadas Pandit, he sent Udharana Datta inside the house. Udharana Datta went inside and informed Suryadas of the Lord's arrival, and so he rushed out to greet the Lord. Falling at the feet of Nityananda Prabhu, Suryadas offered his obeisances. Then, with folded hands, he said, "What good fortune!" The Lord said, "I have come to you with a purpose. Please give me your daughter's hand in marriage." The Pandit knew the glories of Nityananda Prabhu, but at that moment he forgot everything, being bewildered by the Lord's illusory energy. "How is it possible?" the Brahmana humbly said. "We first have to weigh many considerations, such caste, the stars, and family. Although you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, you are an outcast, and I am a Brahmana." Hearing this reply, Nityananda Prabhu left that place while everyone watched in wonder. Suryadas Pandit felt disappointed and went inside his house. Will my dream come true? He thought. O Lord Krishna, will it ever come to be by the arrangement of providence that Nityananda Prabhu will become my son-in-law? Pondering over this, Suryadas assembled his relatives and informed them of the Lord's proposal. Last night I had an astonishing dream, he said. I saw a wonderful person come to my house sitting on a chariot with a flag. He was huge, like a mighty wrestler. His complexion was golden, and his eyes were reddish. He got down from the chariot and smilingly asked, Is this Panditji's house? He carried a plow on his shoulder and held a stick in his hand. He gestured for me to come. Flowers decorated his hair, and he wore golden earrings. He was dressed in blue garments, and anklets decorated his feet. He said to me, I am going to marry your daughter. You have not recognized me until today. Saying this, he suddenly disappeared. I then got out of bed and found that it was morning. As Janava listened to her father's talks from within her room, her natural love for the Lord arose within her heart. Indeed, tears of love began to flow from her eyes. She covered her face with a cloth, but the cloth became soaked with her tears. My dear friends, I have told you about my wonderful dream, Pandita continued. We see so many things in our dreams. Someone replied, Nityananda Prabhu is the supreme Brahman, and we are but householders. How can we offer him our daughter? Surya Pandit was naturally very soft-hearted. Upon hearing this, he became distressed and cried, Save me, save me. Suddenly, everyone heard a cry coming from inside the house. Something had happened to Janava. They rushed inside and picked her up and then brought her out onto the front veranda. She was unconscious, and her eyes had rolled upwards in their sockets. Her entire body had become cold, and her face was covered with perspiration. A doctor came and diagnosed that she had epilepsy, saying that there was no cure for this disease. He informed the girl's relatives that seldom does a person with epilepsy live for long. He then treated her according to the prescriptions of the scriptures. Even after applying proper medication, there is no improvement, the physician said. Take your daughter to the bank of the Ganges and arrange for her funeral rites to be performed. Suryadas began to cry when he heard these words. Gauridas, while consoling him, said, I think we have committed an offense at the feet of Avadhuta Nityananda. We must beg his pardon and bring him back here as soon as possible. As long as we live in this world, we should try to maintain relationships. After death, relationships no longer exist. If he can revive our daughter, then we should arrange for her marriage with him. This is my advice to all of you. Let us go to Nityananda Prabhu and fall at his feet. Lord Nityananda was sitting under a banyan tree on the bank of the Ganges. Tears glided from his eyes as he chanted the holy name of Krishna. Gauridas, along with his relatives, went to Nityananda Prabhu and fell at his lotus feet. The Lord quickly picked him up while patting him on the back. My dear cowherdmen, have you all forgotten me? The Lord said. Nityananda Prabhu placed his hands on Suryadas's shoulders. Suryadas Pandit fell at the feet of Nityananda and lamented, You completely bewildered my intelligence. Although you are capable of doing anything, you did not inspire me to give up my attachment for Varnashram Dharma. Please give us the shelter of your lotus feet and thus save us." Saying this, the Pandit took Lord Nityananda to his home. His daughter Janava was lying at the doorstep, covered with a cloth as the sunshine fell upon her. This appeared like lightning striking a cloud. Her eyes bulged in their sockets as tears incessantly fell from them. Her curling hair enchanted the beauty of her forehead. The symptoms of impending death appeared on her body. At that moment the aroma of the Lord's body entered her nostrils. By smelling this aroma she immediately regained consciousness. Janava hurriedly covered her face with her cloth and said, "Where am I? What is happening?" She then got up and entered her house. At that time Nityananda Prabhu, the reservoir of transcendental pastimes, displayed his six-armed form in the courtyard of Suryadas Pandit. His two upper hands held a bow and an arrow. His two middle hands held a plow and a stick, and his lower two hands carried a sannyas danda and water pot. His head was adorned with a crown, and his ears were decorated with earrings. His entire body was radiant with valuable jewels and ornaments. Upon seeing this form of the Lord, everyone fell at his feet. Pandita prayed to the Lord with folded hands. All the brahmanas who had gathered there were struck with wonder upon seeing this wonderful form of the Lord. Soon the six-armed form of Lord Nityananda disappeared from everyone's vision, and only two-armed Lord Nityananda remained. Smiling at everyone, Lord Nityananda sat on the doorstep of the Vishnu temple there, as all the Brahmins and Vaishnavas chanted, "Long life, long life." They then served Nityananda Prabhu with great care and affection, and made him comfortable. The learned Brahmins and the family priests then decided to award Nityananda the sacred thread according to the Vedic injunctions. When they disclosed their plan to the Lord, he accepted it with a laugh, saying, "And do whatever you like, I have nothing to say. Only Chaitanya Gosai is independent." When they heard about the Lord's approval, everyone became very happy. Then Pandita began to make arrangements for the marriage of his daughter. He collected whatever articles were necessary so that the marriage ceremony would be performed as opulently as that of a prince. He gathered whatever things he lacked by begging, and then invited all his neighbors to attend the marriage ceremony. He then brought a large quantity of betel nuts and pan. Thereafter the Brahmin called for his family priest and carefully chose an auspicious day for the marriage. From that day on, there was constant celebration at the Pandit's house. Day after day, more of his friends and relatives arrived. The musicians played, and hundreds of Brahmins were fed every day. The women distributed vermilion, betel nuts, pan, oil, and sweets to all the visiting ladies. On the day of the marriage, the Brahmanas came to Suryadas Pandit's house after finishing their regular duties. They brought the required paraphernalia, such as flowers, kusha grass, sitting mats made of kusha grass, wooden mortars, and spoons for performing sacrifices. They also brought a stick, water pot, umbrella, pair of shoes, belt, kupina, deerskin, scattered thread, and ghee. After the Brahmanas had prepared the sacrificial arena, the head priest asked Nityananda Prabhu to come. As Nityananda Prabhu sat in the midst of the Brahmanas, they offered ghee in the sacrificial fire while chanting Vedic mantras. After completing the formalities prescribed by the scriptures, the Brahmanas put a stick and water pot in Nityananda's hands. He wore a saffron-colored kupina and chadra, and carried a saffron bag on his shoulder. The Lord then begged, "Mother, please give me alms." The wife of Surya Das Pandita respectfully placed gold, silver, and money in the Lord's bag. When the priest told Surya Das Pandita to bring the bride, Nityananda Prabhu said, "Do that later." Then he whispered something in the ear of the priest, who quickly said, "That is all right." Holding a stick and water pot, Lord Nityananda repeatedly laughed aloud. He wore wooden shoes and held an umbrella. He appeared just like a young Brahmana, and while gazing at his enchanting form, the lady smilingly said, "He must be the younger brother of Sri Ramachandra. That is what we feel." The Lord then entered a secluded inner room and continuously remained there for 3 days. Rising early in the morning on the 4th day, the Lord looked at the sun and the Brahmanas before coming out of the house. All attractive Nityananda Prabhu then offered his obeisances to Lord Vishnu and sat on a wooden throne. Hundreds of women from Navadvip came to the house of Surya Das Pandita, holding each other's hands and shoulders. They decorated their eyes with black ointment and chewed betel nuts. They arrived at the house of the Pandita while swinging their hands and bodies. The priest came to perform the necessary duties prior to their marriage, while the ladies made auspicious sounds on all sides. The priest tied yellow threads on Lord Nityananda's and Janava's hands. Janava then went inside the house, bowing down her head. The musicians played auspicious ragas as all the people dove and surfaced in the ocean of great happiness. As the ladies brought water for the ceremony, some of them said, "Janava is indeed most fortunate. Who else could have such a beautiful groom except Revati, who previously had such a wonderful husband?" Or previously had such a wonderful husband. They look just like Shankara and Parvati, someone said. They look like Lakshmi and Narayan, others said. It is like the union of Kamadev and Rati, another said. Yet others said they are like Rama and Sita. In this way people revealed their minds to one another. They laughed and fell on each other as if intoxicated. Many of the ladies were simple young girls attending the marriage of their friend, and were unable to check their jubilation. The whole day passed in blissful preparation. Finally, the auspicious time for the marriage ceremony arrived. Surya Das Pandita told his relatives to decorate both the bride and groom. Hearing this, everyone became very happy. Nityananda Prabhu came out and sat in the courtyard of the Vishnu temple, and Gauridas Pandita began to decorate him. Nityananda was naturally very enchanting. The Pandita put tilak and sandalwood paste on his forehead. Naturally intoxicated with prema, Nityananda's eyes always moved in circles. The Pandita put black ointment on those eyes. The Lord's beautiful raised nose was marked with tilak and sandalwood paste. The beauty of his face defeated the beauty of the full moon. His broad chest was decorated with sandalwood paste and flower garlands. He wore white garments and a white sacred thread. That thread appeared just like Lord Anantasesha covering Lord Balaram. A crown adorned his head, and he wore beautiful earrings. The golden ornaments decorating his body shone brightly. The artistic ladies sat in a private place and decorated Janava with undivided attention. They combed and braided her hair in various attractive ways. 2 colorful clusters of jute hung from her head to her back, covering both her ears. The ladies made many beautiful braids with her hair, beginning from her forehead. Wiping her face with the corner of their saris, they decorated it with kumkuma. They adorned her forehead with marks of tilak and applied black ointments to her eyes. They enhanced the beauty of her forehead and cheeks with many beautiful dots of sandalwood paste. They put tilak on her nose and became captivated by her beauty. Then the ladies began to dress Janava. They put a golden ring with a pearl hanging from it on the tip of her nose. It swung on the top of her upper lip as she moved. It appeared as if honeybees were falling over a sesame flower. She was wearing a golden kanti mala with a locket that hung to her chest. She was decorated in a most attractive manner, and her beauty was matchless. Golden earrings resembled kampaka flowers decorated her ears, appearing like lightning. The earrings were fixed at one place, yet they desired to touch her other limbs. Golden bracelets and bangles bedecked her hands. She wore golden ankle bells on her beautiful reddish feet. After decorating Janava to the best of their ability, the ladies put betel nut in her mouth and hung garlands of fragrant flowers around her neck. They then sprinkled scented oil all over her body. Thereafter, all the relatives and friends of Surya Das Pandita told him to take his daughter and circle the groom. Pandita at once accepted the proposal, saying, "Whatever you all say, I must follow." Everyone rushed in all directions to gather the necessary items for the marriage ceremony. They brought numerous articles to Surya Das Pandita and then set them before Lord Nityananda. They then made the Lord sit on a palanquin. The musicians began to play, filling the entire sky with their sound. The singers and dancers sang and danced perfectly in time with the music. Lord Nityananda beheld all this while dressed in divine garments. Sitting on a palanquin, he was taken in procession through the streets while auspicious sounds of joy filled the 4 directions. The women of the city came out of their houses and sat on their doorsteps with their babies on their laps to have a glimpse of the groom. Young boys rushed to where the procession was passed and became overwhelmed with happiness as they joined in the singing. After touring all over the city, Nityananda Prabhu, resembling a full moon, came back to the house of Surya Das Pandita. Surya Das Pandita offered incense, a ghee lamp, sandalwood paste, and flower garlands to Nityananda Prabhu. He then led him by the hand to the marriage arena. Someone sprinkled scented water before Nityananda as he walked. The ladies made auspicious sounds of Ulu Danavi. Nityananda Prabhu was then made to stand on a low wooden platform. His radiance filled all directions. Holding ghee lamps and flower garlands, the Brahmanas circled Nityananda 7 times. The ladies smiled while covering their mouths with their saris and falling on one another. They then brought the bride on a beautiful throne and made her circle Nityananda 7 times. Janava and Nityananda glanced at each other as everyone threw flowers and pan. Their spontaneous love for each other awakened. After a long time, when Janava finally saw her beloved Lord, she held her head down in shyness. The ladies then took Janava inside a room, while the Brahmanas completed the formalities according to the scriptural injunctions. Surya Das Pandita offered jewelry, clothes, and other items to Nityananda Prabhu and formally accepted him as a son-in-law. Then he brought his daughter and offered her to Nityananda Prabhu in charity, as per the Vedic injunctions. Taking his daughter and son-in-law inside, he made them sit on a divine bed decorated with flowers. Many young girls also entered the room, teasing the new groom and joking with him. The whole night thus passed in great mirth. In the morning, Nityananda Prabhu bathed and then sat down for the Vedic ceremony of putting sindura, vermilion, on the bride's head. The Brahmanas performed the fire sacrifice according to the Vedic rules and regulations. Finally, hundreds of Brahmanas were served a feast. Nityananda Prabhu thereafter lived happily at Surya Das Pandita's house for a few days. One day, as Sri Janava was serving Nityananda his lunch of Krishna Prasad, with utmost care the younger daughter of Surya Das Pandita, named Vasudha, whose mind had been firmly attached to Nityananda since her childhood, came to assist her sister. As she was serving prasad to Nityananda Prabhu, the part of her sari covering her head suddenly fell. Since both her hands were engaged in serving, she manifested 2 more hands to again cover her head with her sari. Seeing this, Nityananda Prabhu caught hold of her hand and made her sit to his right. Nityananda said to Surya Das Pandita, "I will take your younger daughter with me as dowry." "I have no objection," Surya Das Pandita replied. "There is nothing I could refuse you. I have surrendered my caste, life, wealth, house, associates, and everything else at your lotus feet." Saying this, the Pandita raised his hands and danced in ecstasy while chanting, "Hari, Hari." He then prayed, "O Krishna, O Yadava, please be merciful to me so that I may fix my mind, body, and speech at the lotus feet of Nityananda Prabhu." When the Pandita explained this new development to his relatives, they all smilingly approved. "We have also become fortunate by your association," they said. "Who has the power to disobey the Lord?" With folded hands, everyone said to Surya Das Pandita, "You have actually purchased Krishna in Kali Yuga." Nityananda Prabhu thus inspired all the residents of Ambika Kala to float in an ocean of bliss. Accepting the lotus feet of Chaitanya and Nityananda as my life and soul, I, Vrindavana Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet.
Jivavatu Vanne Nahiko Isvara Sri Charanatarani Dane dasa Koroparo Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Dasaranurasa Prarthana Kodoye Sadhu-guru Jodi Dayana Karibe Patita Dekhiya Jodi Dayana Karibe Patita Dekhiya Patita Pavana Namo Kisedanda Gita Patita Pavana Namo Kisedanda Gita Jodi Dayana Karibe Patita Dekhiya Jodi Dayana Karibe Patita Dekhiya Patita Pavana Namo Kisvedana Giya Kondango Kanduno Korondina Hinutane Gaur Premanandi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Dasaranurasa Prarthana Kodoye Sadhu-guru Gaurada e tomare Kripa kori eso amo dido yamandire Jodi dayana koribe patita dekhiya Jodi dayana koribe patita dekhiya Patita pavana namo ki se dandagiya Patita pavana namo ki se dandagiya Jiva tu panne nahi konishkaro Shri Chanana tarangi dane dasa korokaro Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu dasa dasa Prarthana kodoye sadhu-guru Jodi dayana koribe patita dekhiya Jodi dayana koribe patita dekhiya Patita pavana namo ki se dandagiya Patita pavana namo ki se dandagiya Jodi dayana koribe patita dekhiya Jodi dayana koribe patita dekhiya Patita pavana namo ki se dandagiya Gauranga kanduno korodina hino jane Gaur Premanandi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Dasa Prarthana Konoye Sadhu-guru